Yes.
The lead Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt. And also, it's good to see you all once again very quickly. It looks like Israel has decided to say to hell with the U.S. statements. They've now attacked Iran in a very large-scale attack, launching attacks literally on several different major cities inside of the Iranian territory. And we're currently hearing of even more Israeli fighter jets taking off as we speak. And this appears to be going down much larger than I thought it was going to be this evening. But it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past few hours of developments as we have been able to see that the Israeli Air Force is now conducting retaliatory strikes within the past several hours after the Islamic Republic of Iran conducted reciprocal strikes against Israel for bombing Dahya in Lebanon earlier this morning. We are now seeing that significant explosions are occurring in several cities throughout the Islamic Republic of Iran, including Tabriz, Tehran, Isfahan, and also the smaller town of Islamabad Garb near to the area of the Iraqi border within western Iran. We are understanding that a second wave of Israeli aircraft have now taken off and are heading on their way across Iraq to be able to prepare for their own strikes against the Islamic Republic of Iran. This all being done apparently outside of the permissions or blessing of the United States of America, with the U.S.'s statements yet to be seen at this moment on the fact that the Israelis are now conducting significant strikes within the region without the United States approving. We do see that at the moment a large amount of U.S. tankers are airborne and operational throughout the entirety of the region, including two KC-135s and one KC-46 Pegasus in-air refueling tanker, all operational at this moment. We can also see a U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon has taken off from the Prince Sultan Air Base and is also airborne as well in the midst of these strikes. Outside of that, the airspace situation appears to largely be sparse, as most aircraft have now evacuated the entirety of the airspace of Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Kuwait, and Iran, and are now awaiting the continuation of the Middle East war, which now appears to be restarting in in full. To get us through some of
Man,
the
it's wild. It's wild. We just saw a video a second ago. We'll get into it in just a minute. There was like a horde of Israeli fighter jets like taking off over Iraqi airspace, and they were heading out for Iran. So we don't think the attacks are over yet. Like it sounded to me like the air bases in Israel are still highly active. Also, by the way, can we check flight radar real quick before we jump into that news and see if we see any stratotankers, anything like that, real quick, like just from the military view? Because I'm kind of curious at the moment. Let's see. Wow, so there's barely anything on ADS-B right now. So there's a lot of aircraft, I'd imagine, with their transponders off. I would assume that's the case because we literally saw a horde heading out toward Iran before these strikes started to take place. So, Enforcer, what would take us through the news? This is a crazy development.
It is a pretty wild development, and we have been able to hear that just over the past few minutes, the Israelis did announce that they were conducting strikes against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and explosions were already being reported throughout larger areas of the country. One of the first explosions that we were able to document on air is in the smaller town of Islamabad-e-Garb, where we can see that strikes were conducted within the city. We believe that this was opening suppression of enemy air defense activities that were being conducted by the Israeli Air Force to target and destroy any possible radar-guided air defense systems that would be providing some form of defense against the Israeli attacks that would now be conducted deeper inside of the country. At the same time, reports of explosions did come out of Tabriz once more, and it does appear that there are explosions within the area of Tabriz, along with Karaj as well, just to the west of Tehran. Additionally, explosions have also been reported within the Tehran area, with major fires and explosions being seen at the Mehrabad International Airport. This image here showing the large columns of smoke now rising from the airport after the Israeli strikes were able to land and hit their marks. We believe these strikes most likely are on the southern apron of the airfield, where a large amount of Iranian Air Force aircraft are currently based and operating, or it may possibly be within the northeastern area of the airfield where some MiG-29s and other Iranian Air Force multi-role aircraft are stationed. Additional news came out of eyewitness reports of other explosions throughout the area of Tehran, and we have also been able to get some further reports once again corroborating that eyewitnesses are confirming to a wide degree that there are other explosions outside the Mehrabad International Airport that are happening inside of Tehran. Unfortunately, we do not have exact location on those.
It is interesting that apparently Iran generally knew that Mehrabad was going to get hit yet again. We were covering that in the first stream we did earlier today when Iran launched their attacks on Israel. We saw the evacuation of several different aircraft leaving Mehrabad airport, and also I think a couple of other airports in Tehran as well. They were literally leaving. Some of the commercial aircraft were leaving straight up out of Iranian airspace altogether and going to nearby neighboring countries. So that appears to be generally what was hit for the most part. So I'm kind of surprised by this, folks. Also, by the way, we went over this earlier. The U.S. and especially the U.S. president was making statements that he calls all the shots and that Netanyahu is basically his bitch to a certain degree. It turns out that apparently Netanyahu didn't like that very much, and it looks like he went ahead and attacked anyway. So honestly, what a turn of events here. I had a feeling that Israel was not going to like that statement, and it looks like they decided to pull the trigger.
I would have to say I don't think anybody would like that statement. And I would have to say, I mean, generally good on the Israelis for not bending to American pressure, because the idea of a sovereign state coming under a significant attack with direct impacts on their territory and then demanding from an outside perspective that they do not respond to that attack would be absolutely insane. I don't even know why in the world that was even stated to the Israelis or largely demanded of them, because if the United States had come under a similar attack, I can guarantee y'all that we would have at least some form of a response in mind for a direct attack on U.S. soil. We've also been able to hear outside of the news in Tehran that in the Isfahan area, there has been some video and picture evidence coming out of the explosions and strikes within this area, with some footage showing a raging fire and some smoke rising near to the area of the Isfahan city. We can see that right here.
I would imagine, because we can't really see what was hit from this angle right here, I would imagine that most of the stuff that Israel's hit so far is probably just mainly air bases and probably ammo depots of some sort. That's my guess.
It's decently likely that that is the case. We did get to see a duplicate of that clip right here, and this last clip actually shows us another angle of these strikes, where we can see that the smoke plumes have now grown a lot larger just in the minutes that followed, and it also does appear to show that there have been several points of impact around the base of these smoke plumes, and also other strikes that have been conducted around the area of the city. So this is giving us a pretty decent indicator that the strikes by the Israelis are being conducted on a broader scale throughout the entirety of Western Iran, as we have been able to confirm once again that Isfahan, Tehran, Karaj, Tabriz, and also the city of Islamabad, Igharb have all come under attack, which generally paints us a perfect square within the northwestern Iranian regions that are showing that the Israelis are conducting what we would describe as their typical sorts of airstrike campaigns against the Iranians that we've seen in prior times, such as the armed conflict that started on the 28th of February. Additionally, we also got to see these aircraft conducting their flights over Iraq on this film here, showing a large amount of afterburners and aircraft in the sky over central Iraq, making their way towards the Islamic Republic of Iran just before these strikes began. And there's one of them.
What's that noise in the background?
That's a minaret, a call to prayer. There's another one.
Honestly, at this point, the call to prayer turned into basically like summoning the Israeli aircraft. At this point, it seemed like they all appeared once that started playing.
Man, honestly, man, when I look up and I see the Israeli Air Force coming my way, I usually go, oh, man, like I kind of do that as well. But moving aside from that, we also were able to hear of some airstrikes within southern Baghdad as explosions were heard within that area. And we also additionally were able to report as well that at this moment right now, there is a second wave of Israeli aircraft that have taken off from their air bases within Israel and are currently outbound right now towards the area of the Islamic Republic of Iran. We're assuming that they will start to enter Iranian airspace here within the next few minutes, as that post was put out around 20 minutes ago by now, and that means that the Israeli aircraft have highly likely made it across the state of Israel, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and elsewhere, and are making it very close to the Iranian borders. From what we're generally understanding, we believe that the airstrikes are being conducted with JDAMs, most likely almost directly overhead of target, and they're being supported by SEAD aircraft, or suppression of enemy air defense aircraft, which are making sure to stop any Iranian air defenses from trying to take significant pot shots at the Israeli aircraft that are now flying deep into the Islamic Republic of Iran. We haven't been able to get any indication, sorry for the voice crack, of any significant missile fires that have been seen within the area at the moment, but there is a high expectation that the Iranians are going to respond to these strikes that the Israelis are now conducting, and we're going to see that the tit-for-tat strikes between Israel and Iran resume in full form, and we'll also see that the Iranians will start reciprocal attacks against the Gulf state allies and the United States as well, as per their prior threats from the last stream.
Yeah, I would imagine so. We had heard earlier from the Iranians that if Israel dared to retaliate, they were going to start striking U.S. bases and also possibly embassies in the region. We did see that the Jordanian embassy apparently sent out an alert. Also, the Israeli embassy inside of Jerusalem for the United States also sent out alerts as well, telling people to get ready to go to shelters. So it seems to me like we're probably looking at some sort of infrastructure attacks on the Gulf states, like you were just mentioning, and also a definite targeting of U.S. forces in the region as well, because we had heard before that Iran was blaming the United States for what Israel has done inside of Hezbollah, inside their territory, inside of Lebanon. They were blaming the United States forces for that. So at this point, I think, like we were saying earlier, we were saying it like a broken record earlier, the situation is largely set in motion at this point. There's nothing that's going to stop it because Iran's going to clearly retaliate to this, and we're expecting that within the hour. Like, I would imagine that Iran's not going to take too long to respond to this because it took Israel a few hours. They had to determine whether or not they were going to defy the United States. But Iran doesn't have that going on. They're going to respond pretty quickly, I'd imagine. So that's what we're currently waiting for right now. But I'm kind of surprised, though, that they did it this quick, because earlier today we heard that the U.S. officials was telling Israel, just wait a few days and let's just talk this thing out. Now, Israel said, hell no, we're not talking it out. They went right back to work.
And they definitely did go right back to work. It looks like nobody's really wanting to talk this out in the region. It's so sad, folks. I mean, it's not like 2 months of failed talks would make everyone tired of trying to talk, but it really is something else. It is the complete resumption of the conflict, and we are assuming by de facto at this point that we will be seeing strikes on the Gulf states and the United States as well. That's what the Iranians directly stated they would do if Israel dared to counterattack after the Iranian strikes on northern Israel just earlier today. And that appears to be the kind of realm that we're living in right now. The Israelis are conducting that very reciprocal attack that the Iranians were speaking of right now, and that largely means we'll probably start to see massive missile and drone attacks conducted by the Iranians, probably here incredibly soon, against the Gulf states and also the U.S. forces within the region. We actually have some breaking news coming out right now on the topic. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Okay, so we are currently getting a whole bunch of headlines coming out right now. We have heard a statement from the IRGC inside of Iran. Here's what they said. They said they confirm that there's been targeting on the Iranian soil and they were attacked. They have confirmed that. They said that they were air-launched ballistic missiles that hit the Iranian targets, and apparently that does corroborate the other reports that we've heard that Israeli fighter jets were launching missiles at Iran from the air in Iraqi airspace. So that generally does line up with what we heard before. We are hearing as well from Israeli media that apparently the alert level has been raised in Tel Aviv and southern regions in anticipation of an imminent rocket attack. That's happening right now this very hour. It sounds like Hezbollah is about to launch hell on northern Israel from the looks of it. So that's coming from Israeli media. We're also hearing that Iranian electronic warfare systems are now activated near Shiraz and Isfahan, possibly in preparation for more missile launches from Israel. So like we said, it's definitely heating up. It's not cooling down. Right now, the first wave of the Israeli attack has come to an end, but we are expecting an Iranian retaliation and perhaps a second wave of the Israeli strikes on Iranian territory. So pretty big news with that. But Enforcer, what do you make of the news?
It seems to me at the moment that the activation of electronic warfare forces and air defenses around Isfahan and Shiraz are attempting to try and insulate key Iranian missile hubs. Isfahan and Shiraz both house significant missile cities and are operational headquarters for the Iranian rocket forces and the IRGC rocket forces that would conduct drone and missile attacks on Israel, the United States, and Gulf allies in the region. So this is attempting to try and give them a little bit of a defense, although in the prior conflict we saw that Iranian electronic warfare largely was ineffective against U.S. or Israeli assets in the airspace of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Additionally, the fact that the Israelis are putting out a warning on Tel Aviv are showing us that they must be believing that an attack is imminent, probably within the next 20 to 30 minutes, I would assume, maybe within the next hour. Additionally, the Iranians also confirming the attacks is giving them a official justification and an announcement to work with to be able to start working off of a retaliatory framework to the Israeli attacks and to go through their usual ceremonial process in restarting official hostilities with the state of Israel. Usually that involves the red flag of vengeance, a whole bunch of statements from the Iranian government that they'll make the Zionists bleed and whatnot. And then they'll start significant enduring attacks like we were hearing earlier for most likely 7 days straight, endlessly, day in and day out, meaning that we'll be seeing what is, in short, the restart of the February 28th war in the Middle East, which started a couple of months ago and we're largely still in the midst of.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that because based on this news story that it's got right now, apparently it is confirmed that Israel is reportedly preparing for additional waves of Iranian strikes following their strikes against targets inside Iran. And like Ocean Defender was also pointing out, this is the resumption of reciprocal strikes between the two regional rivals. And of course, this is the start of it. So we are hearing that the Israeli Home Front Command is to update their guidelines shortly. I would imagine they're probably about to come out with some warnings telling people to get near shelters, I would imagine. So basically, this is the restarting of it. At this point, on June the 7th, I guess you can say the ceasefire is officially over, even though it was really over, once Iran started attacking the Gulf states, it was over then, but the U.S. tried to act like it wasn't. It's impossible to say that the ceasefire is in effect at this point. The fighting's getting too severe to even try to say that. So that is what we know right now. But Enforcer, if you want to, while we're waiting here, before we get into the rest of the news, we can go over this poll that we've currently got running right now.
All right, and really quickly, folks, I had to make sure. I had to go check with CENTCOM real quick. Y'all can see I'm on the CENTCOM Twitter at the moment to see if they're saying anything about the situation and whether the ceasefire is intact or not. Because, we're not experts, and CENTCOM is truly industry experts on understanding what a ceasefire is and isn't. And I'm hoping to see a statement coming out soon with them assessing the situation of the ceasefire. And I'm hoping that they say that it's intact. I'm being sarcastic, by the way. They ought to say the reasonable thing, which is the ceasefire is over. But we'll have to wait and see what they say. It's probably going to be one hell of a trip to watch whatever they try and announce. But in the meantime, we do have a lot of people talking about what the U.S. is going to be doing about these Israeli attacks on Iran, and clearly what's going to become reciprocal attacks by the Iranians and in the aftermath of this current ongoing attack against Israel, the Gulf states, and the United States, just like the Iranians threatened only hours ago. And so, Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about that as well?
Okay, so what do you think the U.S. is going to do to Israel in response to these attacks? Because as far as we know, these attacks were done against the U.S. wishes. Of course, it's a little bit weird for the U.S. to weigh in whatsoever about this because this is purely a Israeli defensive situation. But they said do not attack, and they said the U.S. calls the shots. So Israel said we're going to ignore that because we need to defend our country. So what do you think the U.S. is going to do about it? 40% said the U.S. will not do anything in response to Israel's attacks in Iran, while 26% said a Twitter feud will probably erupt at this point, and 20% said the U.S. will refuse to help Israel. And I'm solidly with the 40%. I think the U.S. will not do anything about this. There's no point in a Twitter feud. There's simply no point in that. Also, that could have a lot of political repercussions as well. So I don't think the U.S. is going to do anything directly against Israel. They're definitely not going to abandon them. But I'm sure in private, there's probably a lot of cussing. There's probably a lot of yelling, but it'll remain in private. I don't think it's going to be public. And I don't think the U.S. is going to do anything about this, which they really shouldn't, because they shouldn't have weighed in the first place. That was very inappropriate for the U.S. to tell Israel not to defend their country. So I'm with the 41%. I think we're going to see generally an ignoring of this situation, and the hostilities will simply resume, and that'll be the end of it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I will say that the U.S. is probably not going to be doing anything at all for some time, and I also have a feeling that we're probably going to be returning to the last administration's tactics of whatever the hell happens, the U.S. is just not going to get involved, even if the Iranians actively shoot at U.S. forces within the region, or if Iranian proxies actively shoot at U.S. forces within the region. Right now, we've seen over the ceasefire period that the Iranians have attacked successfully U.S. bases, installations, and forces, as well as vessels, assets, and other equipment of the U.S. Armed Forces throughout the region for months now. And we have seen that each time the United States has absolutely denied that that even happened at all, although there's clear proof to show otherwise, and then stated that the ceasefire was intact. I have a feeling that we're probably going to be entering an era of that for some time here, after the Iranians start their attacks or their counterattacks to the current Israeli attack here in a brief moment. We'll probably see the U.S. forces come under attack, as well as Gulf states, and the United States will probably continue to insist that it's really not their problem. This wasn't ever America's problem, and on top of that, all of these attacks are not making it to their targets, and they're not hitting anything. Even if there are wounded, they'll just flat out deny that that even happened, and then they'll just keep staying largely with their head in the sand and not really reacting or responding to anything at all.
Yeah, I would say so. Also, by the way, we do have another image coming out of the strikes inside of Iran. I am seeing here in Najafabad, west of Isfahan. We are seeing an image here apparently showing some of these strikes. I don't think we've shown this one already, so we can take a look at this, by the way. We have shown it?
Yes, we've shown that one a minute ago.
Okay. Anyway, did we ever get a geolocation on it, by the way? Because I got some more photos of that general strike here. I just reposted right now. We might be able to get a geolocation on that if we already haven't.
Well, it would be here. This would be Najafabad, but we already showed that one picture before with the two smoke plumes in like the haze. And also, we don't have this though, like the series of pictures that came afterwards from the area, apparently around Najafabad and Isfahan, which we'll show y'all right here. This one we've already shown a little bit prior on in the show, so we won't hang out on this one too long. But we do have this additional picture here showing that near to one of the mountain ridges near to the city of Isfahan or Najafabad, there is a rising column of smoke and apparently a fire that's been caused by one of the Israeli airstrikes on the very periphery area of the city. We've also been able to additionally see another image here that appears to be showing what is possibly an ammunition fire of some sort. It appears to be a smaller one, from what we can tell, but the thick white smoke is indicating that it is some form of a munitions fire, which might give us the idea that an air defense system might have just been hit within that area of the city. This is a secondary cook-off of the solid propellant within those air defense missiles on the air defense system. So it's confirming that military targets appear to have largely been hit within the area, most likely on the periphery of the city, and we can also see that a possible air defense system has also been knocked out as well.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty wide-ranging strikes, I would say. I was trying to go back and grab the threats that Iran was making toward Israel earlier today to go back and analyze what they could be about to strike, because we are expecting that Iran will almost certainly respond to this. So I was trying to go grab it real quick. Sadly, it's not super easy to get to because I've reposted like a million different things today, so it's a hell of a lot of posts to get through. But generally, to go back over it once again, they're going to hit U.S. bases in the region, which means they're going to hit the Gulf states again. We are expecting that Iran could jump to the most extreme response. They could end up starting to hit the desalination plants inside the Gulf states, or they could hit the electrical infrastructure once again. That could be something they jump to, but we're not so certain about that. We do know, obviously, that they're going to launch missiles back at Israel Israel. Now, they could ramp up their attacks because during this last volley of Iranian missiles that were fired at Israel, we generally didn't see any crucial targets get hit, but we did apparently see, apparently an open field had a missile fall into it and catch it on fire. So that was not too bad a damage, but they might end up targeting, like, for example, the Dimona nuclear site once again. That was at the height of the last attacks that Iran conducted. They tried to hit the nuclear sites inside of Israel. So I would imagine we're working our way back toward that. That's probably what we're working toward right now. And I would expect that the Iranians will respond very soon. But Enforcer, what's your guess if the Iranians attack in the next volley? What are likely to be the first targets in your opinion?
Well, at this point, the Islamic Republic of Iran is mostly going to be working off of a scorched earth doctrine for their missile and drone attacks, a lot like they did in the opening conflict when Ali Khamenei was killed in the opening strikes on the 28th of February. And we most likely will see that a large amount of missile volleys will be directed at the civilian populations of Israel, including Tel Aviv, Ashdod, Bet Shemesh, Kiryat Dimona, and Beersheba, which also came under significant attack as well. If the Iranians start to play it somewhat smarter, which they did towards the end of the armed conflict, they'll also start to target significant infrastructure facilities as well, such as the refinery in Haifa, which is one of the few within the state of Israel, the port of Haifa, and also the port of Ashdod, which is the only other commercial port within the entirety of the state of Israel, which could start to significantly decrease the logistics that Israel is able to take in terms of civilian supply and military equipment, and might start to put the Israelis in a supply deficit situation. Attacks against air bases are highly likely expected. Those were almost always conducted during the last round of attacks by the Islamic Republic of Iran in the last armed conflict, and we may expect that some ammunition facilities would also be hit as well, although that would be a little bit hard to say. But I would say I'm putting a pretty decent, not to say it like I'm betting, but I put a pretty decent amount of money that the next attacks that the Iranians are about to conduct here soon are most likely going to be within central Israel between Netanya and Ashdod around Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I would imagine so, probably. So we'll have to see with that. Now, once again, we have to address this real quick because I see a few people asking about this. Some people are saying, "Well, how is Iran still able to launch these missile attacks? Because wasn't Iran out of missiles?" We did see that over the last week or so, we've seen a whole bunch of satellite footage coming out showing that Iran has dug right back down in their old missile cities that were generally the entrances were destroyed to those places. Apparently, U.S. airstrikes did destroy and bury the entrances to those underground Iranian missile cities. But the Iranians were able to dig them out pretty quickly and get back in there. And that goes against the U.S. estimates. The U.S. was estimating it would take Iran several months to get back under there, but it only took them actually like less than a month to actually dig their way back into those missile cities. So whatever stocks of missiles they had down there, they largely have them at their disposal again, which was something that was the worst case scenario for the West, because once they get their hands back on those missiles, then they can launch these large attacks that we're currently seeing right now. So the ceasefire essentially gave the Iranians time to get their stocks back in check, essentially, which is one of the downsides, of course, of waiting this long, of course, Iran could rearm themselves. Also, I mean, China might have sent them stuff, Russia might have sent them stuff, we don't simply know, but they definitely have missiles left, and whatever the U.S. was estimating that they had prior to the ceasefire coming into effect, they've regained whatever they had pre-ceasefire at this point.
Generally, we know that the Islamic Republic of Iran did not have a lot of its military capabilities destroyed, as a large amount of the prior U.S. and the U.S. and Israeli airstrikes were primarily being conducted around the areas of government facilities inside of the Islamic Republic of Iran, which was the critical failing of the last phase of the conflict, because you can strike at political facilities all day, every day, and yet the IRGC is still going to have some military capabilities to speak of to either try and strike at U.S. and Gulf state allies or the state of Israel in general. Over the past few months, the Islamic Republic of Iran has been working overtime to be able to access their missile cities, which had their entrances caved in by U.S. airstrikes, and to gain access to the still intact and operational tunnel networks that were deep inside of the missile cities to be able to access the missiles, transport erector launchers, and drones that they had stored within these areas. We know that by the time that this conflict is now starting right now, around 70 to 80% of Iran's pre-war launch and missile capabilities now exist and are still operational at this point right now. That's been stated in some U.S. intelligence reports about the Islamic Republic of Iran, which have largely been denied by the President of the United States, with the President of the United States insisting that militarily, Iran has absolutely nothing left. Right now, we're watching that that's certainly not true. The Islamic Republic of Iran certainly has a lot left, and I'd feel like at this point right now, that was generally proven to be true before this conflict even started at this moment today, because in the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. was blowing up radar installations just yesterday that they had claimed to have destroyed for weeks now, and were still intact and operational at the time of the strikes that were conducted yesterday. So generally, I hate to tell everyone here because, some people have been deriding us for saying this for a couple of months, but if you've ever been counting on the President of the United States to get your reports on how well Iran's doing, the reports were wrong. Every single time they were put out, they had some impacts and some hits, knock out some of their forces and some of their capabilities, but it was nowhere close to the entirety of it or even the majority of it by a simple measure of 51% or more. So we're seeing that they're still largely militarily intact, and that's also what's been causing us a problem around the Strait of Hormuz, is that all of their anti-ship forces and their blockade forces in the Hormuz are still largely intact and operational, and we have not challenged them or destroyed them in any significant figures, at least at the moment right now.
Yeah, that does appear to be the case, by the way. Also, I'm trying to locate a couple of old posts I reposted earlier today to go back over real quick to discuss what Iran could be about to do. I'm currently sorting through a million different posts right now trying to get to it. So let's see here. Also, by the way, folks, I think it's safe to say at this point that whatever talks the U.S. was hoping to get at this point are probably over with. I would imagine that there might be some phone calls taking place right now between the Israeli and U.S. officials about that. We'd also seen that the Iranians were actually calling up, I think, Turkey. They were calling up the Pakistanis. They were having discussions with people before Israel launched their retaliation strikes right now. So I'm not sure what the Iranians were discussing with those countries. These days you never can tell because the Pakistanis like to ride the fence quite a lot. They like to pretend like they're going to mediate the situation with the United States, but at the same time, though, they show up in Iran and they call the terrorist leaders brothers and stuff like that. So I'm not so sure if we can take the Pakistanis as friends, but that appears to be the case as well. So right now, unfortunately, I'm going to toss it back to you. I'm trying to grab a couple of old posts right here from earlier in the day, but I'm going to scroll through here real quick and get them.
All right, and so while we try and get those posts from a little bit earlier on, many of y'all will know that right now we're largely trying to assess the damage reports that are coming out of the Islamic Republic of Iran and figure out what exactly has been hit. We do know that there's been airstrikes in a lot of major cities right now throughout the Islamic Republic, particularly within the western region of the country, and it appears that from what we can ascertain at the moment, either air defenses and air forces are being hit, meaning that this is the first wave of strikes of many to follow. This would be what's called a preparatory action for the legitimate air-to-ground campaign, which is going to be coming here soon within the future. If we were to take it at face value that the explosions in Tehran generally were conducted at the Mehrabad International Airport, and we were to then extrapolate that information to apply that scenario to Tabriz, to Isfahan, Karaj, and also the area around Islamabadi Garb, it looks like the Israelis are generally trying to destroy any remaining elements of the Iranian Air Force, or largely ground them by cratering the runways which they would operate off of, and they're also trying to destroy air defenses. This means that right now we're probably not going to be seeing a lot of direct physical impact on the Iranians' offensive capabilities, but we are seeing a lot of impact on their defensive capabilities, which then opens up the window for further airstrikes by the Israeli Air Force to start destroying transport-erector launchers that are attempting to fire missiles, drone launch pads, and launch sites throughout the deserts of western Iran, and will most likely be seen that they'll start to target government facilities and significant military forces throughout the region once more, much like they did the last time. We're not entirely sure if they're going to be hitting energy facilities. We haven't heard of any energy blackouts at the moment right now throughout western Iran, so it looks, for the moment, at this time, power installations and other civilian infrastructure is largely off of the menu for the possibility of strikes. It looks to be mostly military infrastructure and military forces that are being targeted and hit at the moment right now. So hopefully we've been able to see that Matthew has found that information that we're looking for. And Matthew, have you found it?
So generally, I went back. I was just trying to double check and make sure that we had the Iranian threats straightened out here on the air. Also, by the way, I'm seeing someone say alerts in Saudi Arabia. I'll check into that in just a second here. But generally speaking, my earlier summary about what Iran was going to do is largely what the Iranians were saying that they were going to do earlier today. So we don't have to go back over that again. We both kind of covered that already to a certain degree. But let me see, though. Let me see what the hell is going on right now with Saudi Arabia. I do have some more breaking news I can get to, but let me check this break breaking news first with Saudi Arabia. I'm not seeing the sirens going off just yet. Let's see here. If there's sirens going off, this might be a person that might be on the ground inside of Saudi Arabia, because I'm not seeing any news on it just yet. Let's see here. So, so I am hearing some reports that there could be. Whoa, wait, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Yeah, I am hearing something here. Apparently, there are air raid sirens going off in Saudi Arabia. And Forster, I just reposted that. It's at the very top. Take a look at this announcement here that apparently just went out.
And let's see here. This is the Al-Kharj government of Saudi Arabia. Let's read this here really quickly, and then we'll start to find the location. If you receive warning messages from the National Early Warning Platform for Emergencies, follow the instructions below. Remain calm and follow official instructions. Immediately proceed to the nearest safe place inside a building or interior room away from windows, and stay there until the danger is past. Do not leave your home until the danger is past. Stay away from open areas, windows, and glass, and do not stand on balconies or roofs. If you are outdoors, enter the nearest building or take shelter behind a solid barrier. Avoid crowds or going to dangerous areas, and refrain from taking photos. So we're having a feeling that there's probably not going to be a lot of open source intelligence coming out of Saudi Arabia because of that announcement. They might make it a law to where it's illegal to film or photograph any attacks that have been conducted. If you receive the warning messages while driving, pull over to the side of the road, away from bridges and high rises. If you notice any danger, call the emergency number 911 in the regions of Makkah, Medina, Riyadh, and the Eastern Province, and 998 in the rest of the kingdom. That's kind of odd. I didn't know they had a different emergency dial, but go ahead.
So do they have can we get the area that this is generally the alerts going out in? Can we see that on the map real quick? Because I'm not totally familiar with the area they're referring
Prince
to here.
Sultan. This is around Prince Sultan.
Okay, well, that's the U.S. forces then in that case. So that's a big one there. So apparently Iran's going to start by hitting Saudi Arabia, which is a strange start to the conflict. I thought they were going to lob stuff right back at Israel, but it looks like they're going for U.S. forces first, which is very interesting to say the least, which generally corroborates what they said earlier today. They said they were blaming the U.S. for what took place inside of Lebanon earlier today, because I guess the Iranians think that the U.S. can hold Israel back, which I guess the U.S. thought that too earlier today, but turns out they can't hold back Israel from defending their country from a large degree. So that is quite serious right there. I'm seeing a lot of reports coming out saying that there's apparently sirens going off all over the place in Saudi Arabia. So very disturbing. Also, you might want to check flight radar and see what's active in that area, by the way.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually a good point. Let me put this down on the map here really quickly. That's a very significant one. And let's take a look at the flight radar. Let me refresh it to make sure we have the most up-to-date information. It looks like the normal traffic we saw earlier, a KC-46 over Jordan, two KC-135s out in the UAE kind of Qatar area, and then we can also see a Beach King of an unknown force that's currently flying out of Riyadh, most likely Saudi, and a P-8 Poseidon that's starting to fly further out towards Israel, might be flying entirely out of the region. Interestingly enough, another thing to note is that it looks like U.S. supply flights have started to slow down a pretty good bit. We're actually not seeing any flights heading into the region, at least right now, outside of RCH 705, which appears to be flying most likely into Germany for refueling, but it might stop there. We don't see any other supply aircraft flying in either at the moment, which is giving us an idea that the U.S. has put a hold on things, and they're expecting that they're either going to be under attack or they are under attack at the moment. Considering that the alerts came out at Al-Kharj, it's highly likely that the U.S. just came under attack at Prince Sultan, and we haven't been able to get any official reports of that attack yet. But Al-Kharj is literally the nearest city to Prince Sultan, and if Prince Sultan ever comes under attack, the air raid sirens would sound at Al-Kharj in prior incidents.
Yeah, so it does appear. I'm kind of surprised that they're targeting Saudi Arabia and Prince Sultan first. I could have sworn they were going to go for the Gulf states or Israel in their first pronged attack when they started once again, but it appears to be that Saudi Arabia is going to be it. So in the meantime, let me do a couple things here. Enforcer, take back over. I got to get my spreadsheet and everything right. I'm all over the place right now.
Also, by the way, good news: the control room's operational to a normal degree, so that's a
that's
good thing.
good.
Yeah, it finally just happened. So outside of that, outside of our technical glitches that we're getting right now, we are starting to see that the Islamic Republic of Iran is apparently conducting attacks against U.S. forces as we speak right now, at least from what we're seeing around the Al-Kharj area. And we're going to try and get further confirmation on that. Once again, I want to say that the only thing that's leading us to make that statement right now is the air raid alerts that have come out at the city of Al-Kharj. So it might just be that the Saudis are coming under attack in general, or that the Saudis are seeing that there are incoming ballistic missiles heading into Saudi Arabia towards Prince Sultan, and they've now issued this alert around Al-Kharj. We're just not really sure yet, but that's why we're saying that it's highly likely the U.S. forces are now under attack. We haven't been able to get any reports out of Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, or the United Arab Emirates of any possible attacks either, but we are expecting at this point that if Saudi Arabia is now under attack and is now issuing air alerts and warnings around Al-Kharj, it's highly likely that the United Arab Emirates is going to come under attack because, to put it in a little more of a morbid way, the United Arab Emirates is a crowd pleaser and a fan favorite within the Islamic regime to attack for their own reasons, generally due to the fact that there's a large amount of Westerners within the United Arab Emirates, and also due to the fact that the United Arab Emirates has been greatly increasing its American and Israeli cooperation in the past, which has now made it an enemy of the Islamic regime, according to the Iranians, and they have conducted significant attacks against them in the past to a heavy degree. So we'll most likely be expecting that if we can definitely confirm all the ongoing attack within Saudi Arabia, we would expect at this point, it's almost a given, that the UAE is going to be under an attack as well by the Islamic Republic of Iran. But we'll be waiting to get further information out on that. At the meantime, we are also expecting that because of the air alerts that are being given around the area of the Prince Sultan Air Base, it's highly likely that here soon we'll start to see a decent amount of tankers taking off, and we actually do right now. We can see right here at 9,800 feet, right outside of the Al-Kharj area, meaning that this aircraft is taking off from Prince Sultan and is gaining altitude rapidly. A KC-135 Stratotanker has just been spotted on ADS-B transponder. This is a clear indicator that right now they are scrambling every single aircraft at Prince Sultan and are sending them up into the air to try and make sure that they're not on the ground, so that way if an Iranian missile does hit the airbase, it's not destroying aircraft along with the tarmac. But we have more breaking news that's coming out right now.
Okay, so we're hearing reports. These are early reports of explosions in the vicinity of the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. It's unclear if these explosions are Patriot air interceptors hitting the incoming Iranian missiles. That is not clear at the moment, but we are hearing definite reports of explosions being heard near the Prince Sultan Air Base, which does house U.S. soldiers. So that's not a good first sign right there. Hopefully there's no impacts on the ground, but like you just mentioned there on flight radar, we're currently seeing an evacuation of Prince Sultan. They're trying to scramble as many aircraft as they can right now and getting them off the ground and off the X, as they call it, getting them away from the missiles that are coming in. So that appears to be the case. So far, just 2 explosions heard at that location. So right now, I'm not sure if we're going to get video of this like very quickly. We might get some video that trickles out of Saudi Arabia, but right now we're having to sort of rely on the ground anecdotal reports out of Saudi Arabia because we don't have any video evidence of it yet. But it appears to be we could be seeing possible hits at the base.
It does appear that there is likely possible attacks at the base. Also, the fact of the explosions is confirming that either Iranian missiles have impacted the airfield, or there is currently a heavy air defense battle ongoing in the skies just to the east of Al-Kharj that are most likely showing that Iranian missiles might be making it in and might be hitting their targets. Generally based off of American air defense interception rates in prior incidents just over the past 2 weeks, we are going to expect that if the missile volley is anywhere close to 6 missiles, 1 or 2 of them is going to make it through. In almost every prior attack that we've seen so far by the Iranians, 6 missiles seems to be about the magic number these days to see a 30% hit rate on the U.S. forces throughout the region. And the prior attack against Kuwait, just to give you all an example of one of these attacks that happened over the past 2 weeks, on one of the prior attacks against Kuwait, 6 Iranian ballistic missiles were fired, and out of the 6 of them that were fired, one of them ended up hitting within the Kuwait city area, and a second one ended up hitting out in the area of the Ali Al-Salim Air Base, hitting this drone hangar that you can see right here on the satellite imagery. So we are expecting that there may be 2 missiles that make it through to Prince Sultan, and depending on where they land at the air base, we could see either minor damage to the air base's perimeter or landscape, or we might see significant damage to an active runway, taxiway, tarmac, or aircraft and assets that are currently based at and are hanging out at the Prince Sultan Air Base at this moment right now. We do know.
So
go ahead.
So apparently the alert has been lifted in the Al-Kharj governorate of Saudi Arabia. So the explosions that were heard were either impacts or they were either air defense interceptions. And apparently it was about 2 or maybe 3 missiles that possibly went towards Saudi Arabia. But here's the catch, though: there was also drones fired as well at that location. So it's unclear if they were shot down or not. But apparently they've lifted the alert, at least according to the post that Saudi Arabia just put out. So apparently, and also it seems to be that Saudi Arabia, like the other Gulf states, are very, very much concerned with people filming the damage. That seems to be their main focus right now. They're telling people not to film and not to gather around any type of damage. So the propaganda machine's going hard right now, trying to cover up any possible Iranian damage in their country from the looks of it. And that sort of follows up with what the UAE is also doing as well. So they are desperately controlling the airwaves right now when it comes to what's getting out.
I would say that the fact that they've lifted the threat, it might indicate that it was missiles successfully intercepted. And if there was only 2 or 3 of them, that is generally well within the U.S.'s capabilities to shoot down. It would be shocking if one of them made it through, considering such a small number made their way to the airbase at the moment. So I would generally expect that that's probably successful interceptions that were being heard near to the area. But once again, folks, we'll probably have to wait until tomorrow or the next day for satellite photography to come out to really confirm what happened or if there was any damage. Because one of those explosions could have been an impact, or it might have all been successful interceptions. It's just hard to say. And generally, eyewitness reports, when it comes to those sounds of explosions, can kind of get them mixed up. Because an area interceptor passing overhead, if you do not see it and you're in your house, they create a sonic boom loud enough that it sounds like an explosion on the ground, and that could be mistaken for an explosion, or an in-air interception and an in-air explosion could also be mistaken for an explosion on the ground. So there's a lot of fog of war going on down there, and hopefully we'll be able to clear that out probably maybe during this show if there's any footage that comes out, or during tomorrow or the next day when we get satellite photography to confirm whether there was damage or not. Do we have any more breaking news coming out at this moment?
So not out of Saudi Arabia, we don't. We have no information coming out of there. Now, one thing I have noticed so far is the Iranians have generally not commented in a very severe way to this recent attack that Israel conducted on Iranian territory. The only thing we've heard officially out of the IRGC right now is that they confirmed that they were attacked. They confirmed the method of attack being air-launched missiles from Israeli fighter jets, but they haven't said anything else outside of that. So I'm not sure why they're being so quiet. I'm trying to recall, is I remember last time the Iranians were generally quiet like this after they got hit by the Israelis, and then all hell broke out later on. So I'm not sure if they're trying to maybe meet with Mujtaba, because Mujtaba will not come out of the bunker. I'm not joking when I say that, by the way. He's apparently in foul shape, and he hides out in a bunker somewhere inside of the northern part of Tehran, from what we can gather. And he hasn't been out of that bunker pretty much ever since he's been injured during the initial strikes inside of Iran. So they might be trying to talk to him possibly, which might indicate the IRGC is kind of deferring to his leadership a little bit. But of course, that's all speculation at the moment. But Enforcer, what do you make of the silence right now? The IRGC not really making much statements at all. Are they busy getting ready to attack in a huge way, or what are they doing?
It's probably taking them a little bit of a minute. They're probably sheltering in place, to be honest, at the moment, and they might be cutting out all of their radio communications during the midst of this strike and are waiting for kind of a breathing moment in the strikes, because we'll probably see that another round of Israeli strikes come after this first one, because this first one is just a preparatory clearing of the airspace and a clearing of any preliminary threats like air threats and air defense forces. So once they get that breathing room, they might come out and they might start to communicate with each other and coordinate. And also on top of that, I don't really think that they're going to be confiding in Mujtaba, because generally it looks like the IRGC Council is the one running the country at this point, and the Council of Experts and Mujtaba generally play a secondary role at this point, since he's not really a well-founded leader and he appears to have been selected as a figurehead just to show a familial line of succession from Ali Khamenei. So we might be seeing that the IRGC is just waiting out the moment to see that when the time becomes ripe, they'll start to communicate and they might start to issue their orders to the rocket forces to prepare for counterattacks against Israel and other locations. There are limited counterattacks going on right now for sure, like on Al-Kharj and Prince Sultan, but those might just be knee-jerk reactions by some limited batteries of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It might not be representing the larger orders that have been given, which may still be lacking by the central IRGC leadership.
Yeah, maybe so, possibly. Also, I have gotten a little bit more news here. Israeli sources are confirming that Iran launched missiles specifically at the Prince Sultan Air Base, apparently trying to hit U.S. soldiers. So that's why they launched the missiles there. They're trying to get back to the United States. But once again, Israel is not confirming or denying that the missiles actually made contact with the ground at the U.S. Air Base right there. So nobody's really sure about that. I am hearing, though, some more on the ground reports that apparently here that it looks like sirens are sounding in Karj. I think that's the same area that we just heard about a minute ago at Prince Sultan, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the same one. I guess there's another wave coming in. It's kind of weird to lift the alert, though, knowing that another wave is coming in literally like 2 minutes later.
Yeah, the source, by the way, is usually pretty reliable that I'm hearing this from, by the way. So I'm not sure if maybe they're a little bit late to the party or maybe it's a secondary attack. I'm not totally sure about that. But there might be possibly a second attack near the Prince Sultan Air Base, maybe. But that would be weird, though, considering they literally just lifted the alert. So I take that with a grain of salt for right now. But maybe Prince Sultan's under a second attack.
It might be. Like, it's possible. Like, it could be under a second wave or a second attack right now. We're still trying to find out, folks, on this one. It looks like they might have just come under attack at Prince Sultan the second time in a couple of minutes. So we'll try and get some further information out on that here soon. I have a feeling they'll probably be coming out in minutes, so I'm kind of just flub-dubbing until we get that information because I'm sure it's coming.
Well, also, by the way, while we're waiting on more stuff to come out about this, because right now the IRGC is laying low, the Israelis are generally kind of laying low themselves right now. The U.S. is oddly silent. Like, I'm not really hearing anything from the U.S. president right now. He's probably fuming, I would imagine, in private. But what's that oil futures looking like? Like, let's see WTI crude, because this is obviously not good for oil investors. This should send them pretty much panicking at this point. So look, that doesn't look right.
That doesn't
$81.
look
It was
right.
at 94 earlier. Let's check that somewhere else. Let's see here. WTI crude
Well, this
oil.
is showing for days it's been $80. Wait, did they just go and like fib the entire graph? Because there's no way it's down at 80. Like the last we saw was like 94 in the futures.
So yeah, the real price of it right now is about $94 a barrel right now. It's up about 4%, just about. This is coming from a different futures exchange, by the way. That whatever you're looking at there on Google is not accurate, whatever that is. But right now, though, it does appear that generally the oil price is jumping a little bit, but it's not spiking the way I thought it was going to spike, not right now. So not sure why that is, because before the oil investors panicked. The price started skyrocketing the last time this broke out. So not sure why it's not this time, but I'm trying to make sense out of the oil markets these days is like trying to decipher the meaning of life at this point. I can't figure it out for the life of me.
Man, I can't figure that out either, much to my dismay. I mean, definitely showing that the oil markets are kind of reacting to it a little, but not a whole lot at the moment. And then also, I kind of find it weird that Google is saying that we're basically like in the pre-war pricing market almost at this point. A little bit interesting with that. So we're still going to be waiting for further information to come out on this alert that just came out apparently at all cars for a second time, at least from the reports that we're hearing right now. And hopefully we'll get some further information on what appears to be the attacks that are being conducted either as a knee-jerk by IRGC missile batteries against the United States, or it is some sort of an ordered attack by the IRGC showing that the commands came from the top to retaliate against the United States for the Israeli attacks that are happening right now. We're still waiting for that sort of an information. But in the meantime, we will be getting on into a little bit of a summary just for a brief moment. Oh, actually, a poll here really quickly before we get into that summary. A poll of what people are saying is going to be happening, at least as far as Iran is concerned, in response to the current Israeli strikes. Matthew, what are people thinking about that? And what are you thinking about that as well?
Okay, so we've seen that Iran has started their response by attacking Prince Sultan Air Base, and right now we can't confirm any damage to the base right now. It's completely unknown at the moment. So what do you think Iran's response to Israel is going to be? Because that's who actually conducted the strikes. It was the Israelis acting without the U.S. blessing to a certain degree. So what do you think is going to happen to Israel? 40% said Israeli infrastructure will get targeted by the IRGC, while 37% said the air bases and bases inside of Israel will be the main targets, and 12% said the Iranians will try to hit the nuclear sites inside of Israel once again. And I would say starting out, they'll probably simply go for air bases inside of Israel. We did see last time that Nevatim and several other air bases inside of Israel were distinctly targeted by the IRGC. So that's the initial one right there that we'll probably see. Later on down the road, once the volleys get a little bit more severe, generally that's when the Iranians start trying to hit in the desert, in the Negev desert where the Dimona nuclear site's at. They'll probably try to hit there afterward, but that's not going to be the initial response, I would imagine. It's probably going to be mainly just the air bases. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that the Iranians are most likely going to be responding with attacks against civilians and also military infrastructure. I would say really the whole gamut. The last time we saw them conduct attacks, they didn't really limit it to just the military and air bases or the civilian side. They were conducting them all almost simultaneously, wave to wave. One wave would attack military targets. The next wave, 20 minutes after that, would attack civilian targets. The third wave after that would attack general city areas. And then it wash, rinse, and repeat from the first step back to the third over and over again. So I think that the next attacks that are going to be coming, we're probably going to see several waves of missile volleys and drone launches in quick succession, but they're going to be attempting to target anything and everything within Israel. We do have to remember, folks, that the Islamic Republic of Iran does consider as a significant part of its psychological operations doctrine the infliction of terror on civilian populaces to be a high priority. I'm not kidding. That's literally what they think. So, for that reason, they're definitely going to be conducting some attacks at some point on the civilians inside of Israel because they have to sow in that fear as a vital part of their military strategy and doctrine as they view it. So that definitely will be coming around along with other attacks, probably trying to hit air bases and civilian infrastructure, but they'll probably be going first and foremost to terrorize the civilians in Israel. That's one of their top priorities. So I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And also it sounds like we got more.
Breaking news, big breaking news right now. Iran is launching a major wave of ballistic missiles against Israel right this very second. So we're hearing about the initial phase of launches coming from Iran right now. Also, I'm hearing as well that there might be possible launches from Yemen and Iran. It sounds like there might be a gang-up attack right now that's being conducted by the Houthis inside of Yemen and the IRGC inside of Iran. So this could be a very big one right now. I'm trying to get news about that Yemen situation right now, but it's going down. Like we're about to see something happen here in just a second. It's pretty big. I'm also, by the way, excuse me for sort of stuttering over my words here. I'm trying to grab two different sources while I'm speaking here. But Enforcer, what say you? I'm going to try to grab these sources.
These missiles are most likely going to be making it into Israeli airspace probably within the next 12 to 15 minutes, as that is usually the flight time from the western Iranian area to the state of Israel. And it also appears that the Yemeni Houthis are apparently now working in conjunction as well to be able to fire their counterattacks, at least against the state of Israel. There is a bit of concern, at least in the back of my mind right now, that the Iranians might issue the order, especially they're blaming the United States for the larger situation, to force the Yemeni Houthis to declare a blockade and enforce a blockade around the area of the southern Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb, which might shut down the Suez Canal if such an attempted blockade is made by the Houthis. It'll be greater compounding the economic calamities that we're currently facing here in the West if they decide to conduct such a blockade, considering that the Houthis are now involved. But we have more news coming out right now.
Okay, so it's not looking good right now. I'm not saying that for dramatic reasons, but it's not good that we're seeing multiple different Iranian proxies start to gang up against Israel all at once. That's not very good. We're seeing that a ballistic missile, we're hearing that it's at least one, but I'm not sure of the exact number, has been confirmed launched from Yemen at Israel. So the Houthis are involved now, so that's not good. We're also hearing as well on top of that, that apparently the area that is at risk is probably the central area or the northern regions of Israel, but I haven't gotten the official announcements yet. I'm trying to look at my second screen here to see exactly what areas are having the air raid sirens going off right now. But that's a big one. Apparently, Yemen is involved at this point.
Interesting to hear, folks. So it does appear that the IRGC is in active communication with the Houthis, and they're now conducting a coordinated attack on two fronts, at least airspace-wise, against the Israelis. Usually, the Houthi missiles usually fly directly along the western coast of Saudi Arabia, and then right up into the area of Eilat, which is in the southern area of Israel, and usually those missiles try and attack something within the Negev desert. Also, it appears that we're getting some reports out of Tel Aviv right now, so what do we got?
Okay, so Tel Aviv is the target of the ballistic missiles. That is currently where the
Money.
air raid sirens are going off right now. Tel Aviv is being targeted and Jerusalem is being targeted. So we can confirm that right now, that apparently not only is the Yemeni Houthis currently targeting those two major cities, that the IRGC is also targeting them as well. So we don't know how many has been launched right now. We simply don't know how many has been launched. I would assume that if ballistic missiles are being launched, that there's probably drones being launched as well. So we could be looking at possibly an overwhelm attack. Like, for example, they're trying to overwhelm the Iron Dome air defense system inside of Israel. That could be what they're trying to do here. Also, by the way, a whole bunch of alerts just popped up, by the way. It is alerts galore all over Tel Aviv right now. So it's bad. It's about to get rough here in just a second. But Enforcer, you can actually pull up Tizafar if you want to show people this, by the way. But they are showing that pretty much the entire central part of Israel right now is currently going off berserk right now with red alerts.
How do you spell that?
Tzofar.
Let me see here if I can get this real quick, folks. Sorry, I don't know how to spell that. Yeah, here we are. There are the alerts right here over the Tel Aviv area. Man, I got that dead on the money, man. That's literally between Netanya and Ashdod, man. I said earlier on the air, I was like, if they attack, they're definitely going to be going for Tel Aviv this time, for a myriad of different reasons to conduct fear on the citizenry and all that. And they are conducting that attack right now in real time. The missiles have not made it into the area yet. Apparently, they're still inbound somewhere over Iraq or Jordan or southern Syria, but they are definitely coming in a beeline, basically, straight into Tel Aviv.
Yeah, so that appears to be the case. Also, it looks like the Israeli sources are now correcting themselves. They're saying that right now they can't confirm for a fact that the IRGC has launched anything, but they do say that it is confirmed that Yemen has launched. So it's possible that maybe it's just the Yemeni Houthis launching the missile. But it's kind of interesting, though. There's a lot of alerts going off just for a handful of missiles from Yemen right now. So I'm not totally sure what the case is, but we can confirm Yemen is involved, but we're not totally sure if the IRGC has launched as of right now. So, Enforcer, what do you make of that?
I would say that it's probably pretty clear to me, at least, that the Iranians probably are firing a counterattack. Usually they're pretty quick with them. So while they might be backtracking a little bit off of the announcements that the Iranians fired them, I have a feeling they probably did. Because it wouldn't really make a lot of sense, at least from what we know from prior Houthi attacks, for them to be targeting Tel Aviv, because usually their missile trajectories travel in a straight line into the Negev desert, and that just wouldn't really line up with Tel Aviv. They would be able to possibly hit Beersheba as their top target, usually on their normal flight paths, but I would doubt that they're going directly for Tel Aviv. I think that is probably an Iranian ballistic missile attack that's going for that area.
It could be possibly. I tend to believe that myself. But real quick though, here's my question: where's the U.S. military right now? Because Israel has a very good air defense system that's ground based. They have the David Sling, they have the Iron Dome, they have a various different air defense systems, which are famous or infamous depending on who you're asking. But where's the U.S.? Is the U.S. currently airborne, trying to help shoot down these incoming projectiles? Because do we see any stratotankers in the air, or is the U.S. generally staying out of this?
We see some Stratotankers, but generally they're kind of just waiting to land back in Tel Aviv. They've been on a pretty decent flight out into the area of the Red Sea. Oh, actually, sorry, the Persian Gulf, correction, whoopsie daisy. And then they flew back to Israel, and it looked like they were planning on landing in that back at Tel Aviv. But now it looks like they're just hanging out in the airspace waiting for their chance to land and refuel and then get back up into the air. So doesn't look like any aircraft are taking off or trying to help out with the air defense perimeter. And most of the tankers that we can see right now are actually out in southern Saudi Arabia and off the coast of the UAE.
Well, that's not good. I hope the U.S. isn't planning just to let Israel be a sitting duck because they're angry with what they did right here. I hope they're not planning on just leaving them out to dry, basically. Because if we're not seeing a whole bunch of Stratotanker activity on the ADSB, unless they maybe have their transponders turned off possibly, then I'm not totally sure what the U.S. is planning here. Now, I would say this. If the U.S. lets Israel get attacked and they don't send up F-16s to help shoot stuff down, that's going to be quite horrific for Israeli-U.S. relations at that point. So I'm not sure if they're going to let the ego and the anger get in the way of that, and possibly let civilians get hurt over that. But I'm kind of a little bit questionable at the moment.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, not to always say the worst case scenario, but I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, a lot of the foreign policy, and I'm not saying this to be political, folks. I'm just saying this to be honest. A lot of the foreign policy conducted by the president is driven entirely off of personal emotion, rather than anything that's pragmatic or realistic. So there is a high likelihood that because this attack was conducted against his wishes, because according to him, he's the one who calls the shots, there's a decent likelihood the U.S. military might actually be given orders to just not get involved at all and remain entirely on the defensive. And on top of that, as far as that being a U.S. position, outside of that being driven by personal spite, ego, or narcissism, the prior administration also did that as well in 2024 when the Israelis killed Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, and the Islamic Republic of Iran conducted a missile and drone attack against Israel. Actually, no, come to think of that, the U.S. was actually involved in defending Israel, but they didn't get involved in any form of a counterattack afterwards, which was the distinction. So actually, I gotta reverse this now that I'm thinking about it. Even the last administration conducted air defenses in support of the Israelis during a prior missile and drone attack. We haven't been able to see that would be the case, at least now, but I'm believing that it might be. Apparently, we have news of a successful interception coming out at this moment as well. So what do we got, Matthew?
Okay, so we can confirm that apparently they're saying the missile. So I'm not sure if it just means one missile from Yemen. I mean, it is the Houthis, of course. So I mean, it might be one missile. You never can tell. Sometimes they just like to, do something just to say they're involved with it. Just like, hey, I'm here. I want a participation trophy. That could be what they did. But they're saying the missile from Yemen has been successfully intercepted. So if it was one missile, I mean, that's something that the Arrow system should be able to handle pretty easily inside of Israel, which is one of their ground-based interceptor systems. It should be pretty easy, one incoming missile. If Israel couldn't shoot down one missile, then they might be in some trouble at that point. So it sounds like it might have just been one missile from Yemen. At this point, I'm not really sure why they're sending out so many alerts if it was just simply one missile. That doesn't seem to line up.
Yeah, that doesn't really seem to line up a whole lot. Let's see if the alerts go away within this area here over the next few minutes, because that would be a little bit wild to put out such a large alert and a warning for a missile that would easily be intercepted, and just the one of them. It's making me believe that there's definitely an Iranian ballistic missile attack that's coming across the region right now. Or maybe those reports were false and we're still waiting for the Iranian response. We haven't heard of any additional Israeli strikes right now, though, so the IRGC does have the breathing room at the moment to come out of some bunkers and get on the radios and start coordinating and issuing orders for knee-jerk retaliatory strikes against Israel. But we haven't seen that, at least clearly at the moment, and we're still trying to figure out whether that even happened or not right now, or whether that entire report was a phantom report, and we're still waiting for some form of a possible Iranian response.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Okay, well, that's the same attack right here. I thought it was the new one, but they're just showing simply the sirens that were going off from the missile that came from there. So I'm not really seeing anything else about this right now. So apparently they intercepted one of them right now. I mean, I guess that might be maybe it from Yemen, but I'm not sure if that's everything from Iran, though. That's definitely not their whole response. If that was the first part of it right there, that's definitely not all of it. So we'll be keeping an eye on this. But right now, though, that is the breaking news.
And so we will be waiting for some further breaking news to come out at this moment. It appears, interesting enough, that things are getting a little bit quiet at the moment, but do not let that deceive you, folks. There is going to be a lot of following actions to come here very soon. I can promise you all that at this point, because with the Iranians striking Israel in the north, and now with the Israelis striking at Iran, and the Houthis getting involved to a slight extent and firing off their own missile, their one missile at Israel, it's pretty likely that this is going to be getting kicked off back in full. We might even see the Israelis go on a little venture down into the Houthi lands to go strike them for a little bit here in the very near future. And we have yet to see any official Iranian responses right now to the Israeli attack that has been conducted. They did confirm that the attacks had happened, but they haven't really gone into any further statements from the Iranian government, at least right now. Also, Matthew, really quickly, can you check on Abbas Arachi and Golubov? They're usually pretty vocal, and we might have something from them on Twitter, possibly, or they might also be in hiding as well in a bunker and have yet to make a statement. If they haven't made a statement yet, that might be showing us that they all are also hiding in a bunker, and probably most of the Iranian leadership is waiting for an all clear to start coordinating and reacting.
Yeah, so Golubov, who's the speaker of the IRGC's parliament, believe it or not, Iran has a parliament, kind of oddly enough, even though it's basically a dictatorship. But Golubov has not made any statements in over 11 hours, so he must be hiding out somewhere with no internet connection, like you said, a bunker probably. The other one, Abbas Aragachi, let's see what he has to say, if anything. I doubt he's saying anything either. Let's see here. So the last thing he put out was 7 hours ago. He put the Iranian flag next to the Lebanon flag, like in a post. So he hasn't really said much either from the looks of it. So both of them are hiding out somewhere with no internet connection. So that tells us they probably are in a bunker. They could be with Mujtaba. You never can tell. They could have, maybe jumped in the closet with Mujtaba to hang out for a while to play it safe. So you never can tell. But Right now, though,
7
no
hours ago?
comments from the IRGC. Yeah, 7 hours ago for Aragachi and 11 hours ago for the other one. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's see here. Uh, let's see here. I'm getting reports of missile launches from Iran. Why does this seem confusing, though? Hold on a second. I'm either having a stroke or I'm having a hard time reading those. So apparently I was having a small stroke. But Israel has apparently temporarily closed its airspace due to launches of missiles from Iran, they say, and the Houthi-controlled territories of Yemen. So this is very early. They're saying that they have confirmed missile launches from Iran right now, as of this very moment right now. So I am seeing that they're canceling some of the red alerts that were happening inside of Israel from the Yemeni Houthis launching some stuff. But apparently Iran is launching stuff right now.
Interesting. Also, something that just lined up to me right there is that the Israelis hit Lebanon in the Dahia suburb about 12 hours ago, and then the Iranian missile volley, the first one that we covered on air, that was 7 hours ago. So it looks like they all went into bunkers expecting an inevitable Israeli response. Apparently one of those officials, what was it, Golubov, 11 hours ago, he went into the bunker as soon as he heard that the Israelis hit the Dahia suburb. So apparently he was already getting pre-prepped for the Iranian strikes and then the Israeli counterattack to follow. And then Arachi apparently went into a bunker and has not said anything else since the original Iranian attack that we covered earlier on in the day. So it looks like they were all getting ready and were all moving into location to get into secure facilities and bunkers to be able to avoid being hit by the Israelis in their retaliatory attack, which in their opinion was inevitably going to happen. So it is showing us that there's been a lot of premeditation on the Iranian side, and apparently they had some sort of a contingency plan in case of the Israelis hit Dahia to put all of this in motion and get government officials to safety or relative safety.
Speaking of the Israelis, though, I think the Israelis have generally not taken the same approach right now. The Wing of Zion is their version of the Air Force One aircraft here in the United States. That's their version of it. In prior attacks on Israel, when they get heated, we'll sometimes see the Wing of Zion take off, and it'll take off towards Cyprus to get out of the area of the attack. We'll see that sometimes, but I think that's still currently on the tarmac as of right now. I believe in Tel Aviv, I think.
Man, that Wing of Zion. Man, what a name. But a very interesting thing to hear, actually. Usually they would send it off somewhere else to something of like a neutral third-party country, but interesting enough, they have not. So, I don't know what that's supposed to be indicating because they're definitely going to be under attack here again soon. But apparently the Wing of Zion hasn't fled Zion, and apparently it's still hanging out there.
Shouldn't it be the wings of Zion? It's like, you have to have two wings to fly. One wing ain't gonna cut it. So why is it a wing of Zion? It should be the wings of Zion.
Well, I believe it's because they destroyed the left wing with facts and logic, so they only have the one left. So it's the wing design. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, you would think it's the wings design. Yeah, you would think so. Also, that's not really making a good argument saying that the Israeli government doesn't support like Zionism when their aircraft is literally called like the wing of Zion. That would be like the that would be like the Soviets being like, yeah, we don't support like legitimate communism, and then their like Air Force One is called the wings of Marxism or something. It's like, that doesn't really do a lot to kind of help out fighting that claim. But anyways, it is interesting to note that it hasn't fled Israel, at least at the moment, and it also looks like the air alerts have all been lifted in central Israel. So it looks like they all were all launched just for that one Houthi missile.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not over yet, though. I'm seeing more people say that Iran's launching missiles right now. Also, Saudi Arabia simply made a post that says "beware" on it. Like they simply made a post, very simple wordage, just beware, and they put out like a post with a check mark in the middle of it. So I'm not sure what the hell that means, but apparently Saudi Arabia is telling people to watch out. We're also seeing as well that, like I said, we're hearing reports as of like 2 minutes ago that Iran's launched ballistics, but I can't get any more information about that. Also, the Iranians just a couple of hours ago released a video of their missile launches toward Israel when they attacked a short while back. We haven't seen any video come out of Iran yet about those missile launches, so currently waiting to see if we can get that. Right now, we need some visuals to show you all in the air about what's happening right now. Also, by the way, they're saying that sirens are sounding across central Israel. I'm not seeing that on the alerts map right now. So unless the alert map is simply lagging behind what's really happening on the ground, I'm not sure why that is.
That is interesting. Maybe they haven't issued the alerts yet because the launches are so recent, maybe. But then again, they usually launch them they usually put up the alerts as soon as they see the launches. So that's a little bit interesting to note right there. Maybe it's showing that Iranian launches have not been conducted yet. Maybe those reports are premature, or maybe the Israeli air defenses are just slow to the punch this time for some reason, which would be a little bit odd.
Maybe so. Also, Saudi Arabia putting out that post talking about beware. It's like, I mean, that could apply to anything. You remember they chopped up that journalist not too long ago for, speaking out the wrong thing. So I guess, beware, like beware of the Saudi government, beware of everything inside of Saudi Arabia at this point. Kind of a sketchy place to be. Also, but you know how it works with those Gulf states. Like they're not exactly what you call democracies. But anyway, so outside of that, we are not getting any. We are not getting any breaking news as of right this second. We are hearing from an IDF spokesperson, and allegedly, they said following a situation assessment, they say it's now possible to leave the protected area. But once again, if you're in Israel, I have to say this every single time, listen to your authorities that you hear directly from them first. Don't take our word for it. But that's apparently the case. It looks like, though, we've heard from Israeli ambassador. I'm going to go ahead and repost this right now. You can go ahead and read this off to the people. Apparently, the Israeli ambassador just put out a statement about what happened. So let's see what he had to say.
According to the ambassador Yishel Leiter, he stated that Iran fired 11 ballistic missiles at Israel today. Each one of those missiles can level an entire neighborhood and kill hundreds. No self-respecting country in the world would tolerate such an attack, and neither will Israel. Israel is now targeting Iranian surface-to-surface missile launch sites as well as infrastructure facilities unrelated to the energy sector, so they've gone out of their way to say they're not hitting civilian targets. The people of Lebanon have rejected Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and have told Iran to get out of the country. If Hezbollah fires at Israel, command centers in Dahia will be hit hard. This has nothing to do with Iran. Everyone had enough of this maniacal Iranian regime.
Damn. So that's aimed at the U.S. officials, this post right here. That's basically telling the U.S. to piss off, we'll do what we want. And that's the ambassador to the United States from Israel.
Man, I had to say, man, I don't think they took that whole phone call like a couple hours ago all too well.
Yeah, I think people are getting sick of that. That whole thing about being told what to do as sovereign countries. I don't think they're very happy with that. So I had a feeling that Netanyahu wasn't going to take kindly to that, and it sounds like they're sending a pretty clear message to the United States. They're not going to put up with that when it comes to their own defense. So honestly, like I have my own criticisms of Israel. Like I don't think they're a perfect country by any means. They do stuff on other fronts like Gaza, etc. That's not so savory, as you could say, to say the least. But on this one, I can say because of course we have to use our discretion here in moderation. I would say I agree with Israel on this one. It was a little bit absurd for the United States to even tell Israel what they could do to defend themselves. That's not the U.S.'s prerogative to say that. If Israel feels the need to defend itself, then get the hell out of the way, and they're going to do what they got to do.
I mean, honestly, folks, I mean, who in the hell could really kind of diss on these? It's I have to say, folks, that whenever we hear of the Iranians or any of their proxies getting slammed, we're all in support of it because they're enemies of the United States of America. But at the same time, the U.S. acting like they have any authority to tell the Israelis what they can and can't do, and they have to follow that without question, is the same kind of idiocy that we've seen run on Europe for a year and a half, and on Ukraine for a year and a half individually, and on the entirety of the East Asian countries as well for a year and a half. And it looks like the international world, or especially the Western sphere, is getting very tired of one person acting like they're the only person who matters, and that they don't have to be beholden to their own governments or their own social contracts that they have in their own sovereign states in these sorts of situations. And I gotta say, folks, I mean, where in the world does the current administration or the current president get off with the idea that he gets to control other countries on his own and they get no say in the matter? Like with Ukraine, they'll just need to make a peace and get it over with when Putin is demanding unconditional surrender, or with the Israelis when they come under attack, telling the Israelis they can't respond at all, and they're not going to because they're basically his bitch. I mean, where in the world does the guy get off saying this kind of stuff? Clearly people are going to get pissed off. I mean, that's just, the facts of the matter. Anyone who hears that's going to get pissed off and generally tell the United States to go kick rocks, and they're going to also go and do what they want anyways at that point, especially when it's something on like this obvious. Like this would be like watching a burglar break into someone's, like your neighbor's home, and your neighbor pulls out a gun for self-defense and going, hey, whoa, 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 you can't stop that guy from robbing your house, let him do whatever the hell he wants. Like, geez, what kind of asshole are you? Like, what right do you have to tell your next door neighbor when they're getting broken into their house, what they can and can't do in their own house? You might be friends with them, but that friendship's about to end, and that guy's about to defend his house hell or high water.
Yeah, and also the more countries that start pushing back against the sort of, and I'm going to say this, and people are going to take it the wrong way, but I have no other way to describe it. Telling sovereign countries how they can and can't defend themselves is almost acting authoritarian to a certain degree. Well, we have no right to tell other countries how to defend themselves, and that goes for everybody, not just Israel. A sovereign country, by definition, makes its own decisions. So to tell a sovereign country you'll do what we say or else, it's like, it's a little bit out there. But as countries like Israel start to push back against that U.S. position, that's going to actually hurt the U.S. position because, if countries start calling the bluff and then the U.S. does nothing about it, everybody's going to be like, well, hell, we don't have to listen to him. He's just running his mouth. He's just going to keep saying X, Y, and Z, and he's not going to follow through with anything. So I would imagine if Israel does this, other countries are probably going to start, pushing back too, I'd imagine.
I see some people in the chat saying, "Well, I mean, we don't have to give them any money to do that." I got to be honest with you, folks. I don't really know why we should give them so much support outright all the time. Like I would have to say, but at the same time, there's also the fact of the matter of you can't tell a country when they get bombed that they can't respond to getting bombed. Like if it's one thing if we say, you know what, we don't really like that Israel bombed the Dahia suburb, which kicked this whole thing off again right now with what we're dealing with. And for that reason, considering that they do what they want, we're going to start cutting, support to them or start cutting arms purchases to them because we can't be involved in this kind of stuff. If we did that, that would make sense. But when someone's getting actively attacked, and they're responding to an active attack, you don't have a right to come in, even if you support that country a whole lot, and go, whoa, 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 you can't respond. You don't have that kind of right. A country has a sovereign duty to respond to attacks that are conducted on them. Like, for example, with Ukraine. If Ukraine gets a Russian missile buried deep underground in the middle of Kyiv and it levels an apartment building, you don't get to call up Zelensky, no matter how much we've supported Zelensky, and say, you aren't going to do jack shit about that. You're just going to let that happen and just ignore it. At that point, he's got a duty to his own citizens that democratically elected him, the people of his country, to respond to the attack. You don't have no one in any country in the world has a right to call up another national leader in a situation like that and go, no, you can't do crap and you're my bitch and you're going to do what I say. No one is ever going to get away with that. That's when you completely lose a country and they go, screw you, I'll do what I want. And Ukraine's already been doing that in a quiet way for a while back in the day when the president was calling them up day in and day out, telling them that they're going to stop the war and just agree to whatever Russia want. They started to make it pretty clear at that point, we're going to do whatever the hell we want, and if you don't like it, you can go kick rocks. And that was the end of the matter. And since then, we haven't really supported them a whole lot, and we're kicking rocks, and they're doing whatever the hell they want, and they're winning the war now more than they have in the last administration or the current one. But we actually have more news coming out at this moment as well, apparently a new post. So what do we got, Matthew?
Okay, so we are seeing that at least according to Flight Radar 24, the ADS-B information from commercial aircraft over Israel, it looks like flights at the Ben Gurion International Airport could be resuming normal operations. It looks like several were departing their holds and descending into the airport. Also, obviously, Ben Gurion is also a dual-use airport. It's a military installation in a certain degree because that's where the U.S. is housing their Stratotankers. It's also a commercial airport at the same time. So it looks like they could be resuming landings and takeoffs there possibly, but that's all preliminary. It looks like a huge jumble of spaghetti mess right now in the sky. So what do you make of that?
It just looks to me like a normal airspace closure at the moment, like a temporary one, and it does look like the threats have been lifted, at least for now. And also the large amount of El Al flights that are coming back into Israel at the moment look to be getting ready to land because they really can't go anywhere else because I guess they're kind of stuck in a lurch, aren't they? Because really not a lot of countries accept, El Al flights just kind of wandering into their airspace because of the, national connection to them. So I guess they kind of have to make a little window for all of them to land in Israel.
Yeah, probably so. Also, we have gotten some images here from the IDF. They're not anything too crazy, but to show you all this, since we have a little bit of free time here to cover it in the meantime, while we wait for more breaking news. Excuse me. We apparently saw a picture of the chief of staff of the IDF apparently hanging out in a bunker, apparently coordinating the operations here. Nothing really to see here. I will say this, though. That dude looks like quintessentially Israeli. Like if you think in your head of like the macho man Israeli, like in the military, that's the dude you think about right there. Like that dude fits like the image perfectly right there. So nothing to really see except it's just some pictures here. They have some. I mean, look at that dang like thing they got, that box that got attached to the back of that IP phone right there. They've got some encryption galore on those phones. Look at that.
Dang. Also, man, that like boom, dude, that's literally the same boom arm I have for my side screen, man. It's this one right here. See it? Like right here.
Yeah. Yeah, also, what's that microphone doing right in the center? It's like, what are they doing? Like, barking orders over a speaker at somebody or something?
Man, every once in a while, this guy, because he looks like the macho, like the stereotypical like Israeli macho man. Every once in a while, he gets on the microphone and he goes, "Today we're learning Krav Maga." And then he just like gets back to whatever he's doing. Like it's just like a little thing that they do. I don't know. Maybe they call people and speak to them over the microphone, but it seems a little odd to me. I don't really know what that would be for, actually.
Yeah, I don't know either, to be honest, but excuse me, I don't know what's got me coughing here, but not really too much to see in these pictures right here. It's just the Israelis sitting down there in the bunker looking at the stuff. So I guess that's a view into what they look like when they're, I guess, looking at something there. I guess they told the guy on the left, put your hand up and pretend like you're pointing at something. Look busy. But that's
Look
that's
over
what's
here.
going on right now. Yeah, that's
Now
what's
look
going on
over
right
here.
now in the bunker right there. Yeah. So that's what's going on. So right now, that is the news coming out, and right now we're in a bit of a lull again. So we are expecting Iran to do something, but we're not sure how quickly that's going to be.
Yeah, and we'll have to see eventually what is happening down here in the region. Hopefully, we'll see something start to occur so we can start to cover it. Because right now, we're starting to enter that little twilight zone that happens every once in a while where we don't have a lot that's flowing out of the news at the moment to cover. And I would love to cover what's happened earlier, but we had already covered all of that for about 4 hours straight before we got off of the last stream. So we won't bore you all with covering that all
Oh,
over again. Actually, we have more coming
whoa.
out right now.
Well, we do have a little bit right here. I know this isn't what we went live to cover right now, but we have a bit of a news lull right now. So to fill y'all in on a couple of other developments that's been happening, we have seen that Ukraine has done a number on the port of Novorossiysk inside of Russia this evening. I'll put these in the likes tab so you can show people these real quick. We've gotten some pretty wild pictures right now coming out that shows Novorossiysk burning to the ground. It's some pretty big hits right now. It appears to be the same depot that was hit by Ukraine just about a week ago, from the looks of it.
And it does look like that. This would be the little depot. And let me see, it's like Transneftogorsk or something along those lines. No, it's actually Grushovaya Balka. It's this one right here. And this appears to be the facility that has been hit. So definitely does appear that the Grushovaya Balka has been hit again. And look at the smoke and the fires rising from it. Beautiful stuff. That is
That's
definitely
just
Grushovaya
yeah,
Balka.
that's the exact same like view and the style of picture that we got the last time. I will say this doesn't appear to be the same size of strike. Like this appears to be a little bit lesser. The last time we saw a strike in this location, it looked like hell was blazing behind those mountains. This time it looks like a lot of smoke.
Oh, and we can also see here the apparently the president's got his own priorities right now in the middle of everything going on in the Middle East. Apparently, we're talking about some domestic election, so that's interesting to see. But I'll
About Israel though, isn't that kind of interesting? He's commenting about a domestic situation here in the United States instead of talking about what Israel just did.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, but it's at this point it's expected, folks. Wow, look at that ballroom, like or something like that. That's probably coming out really soon as well. Or we'll hear in a minute like there's two options, folks, for the Truth Social post that's coming out here in like maybe 20 minutes because the president cannot stop like talking about everything, so he's going to bring it up at some point. He's either going to start slamming the Israelis, which I have a feeling is probably going to go pretty poorly, or he's going to make it sound like he was actually all behind the stuff, although earlier he made it clear that he wasn't. And the Israelis did this because he told them to, because he controls them and they're his bitch. Like, it's going to be one or the other sorts of statements that are made, at least in my opinion. Matthew, which one do you think out of those two we're about to be hearing probably in the next 20 minutes?
I think I'm totally ignoring the situation personally. I don't think he's going to say anything directly at them personally. If he does, it'll probably be very light.
Probably, maybe. I mean, I have a feeling it's probably if the statement is made. Maybe I think you're probably right. There probably won't be a statement made. If there is a statement that is made, we're probably going to see that it's going to be a lighter one that doesn't try to just go out after the Israelis.
It's like what do you do anyway? It's like you make these like crazy statements like Israel will do what I tell them to do because I call the shots, and also they'll do what I say, and then they do the exact opposite. It's like what do you say at that point? You come out and be like, well, I really didn't mean it like that. It's like there's really nothing to say at that point. They defied what you said.
Well,
There's nothing you can really do about it, and all you can do is simply just pretend like it never happened. Really.
Well, I mean, they do that a lot, though. You see, Martha, he didn't actually mean that the Israelis were his bitch. He meant that the Israelis were like a bitch, like a dog, and that we were going to be having a successful offspring created between our alliance. Like, they could do something like that. You know, like, you never know. Because they have done that on a lot of stuff before. Like, wait a minute, we said we hated Ukraine. We meant we just kind of disagreed with a couple of things. We didn't mean that we hated them. We wanted them to lose, or all that sort of stuff. Or we didn't mean we were going to invade Greenland. We were just having a little bit of a disagreement with the Danish about what to do there, and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. So it's likely.
It's really wild, though, and not saying this, not just going on a bashing fest here, not talking about the president either, just talking about the general situation across the Middle East. We've generally lost control of the Iran conflict as a whole, as the United States. We don't have control of the Strait of Hormuz. We don't really have control over any of Iran's military infrastructure to a large degree. They clearly still have missiles left that they're firing at our bases in the region and also at Israel. But we're now losing control of even Israel's response to the situation. So this entire situation is largely out of the U.S. Control at this point, which is very unusual because usually the U.S. exercises a decent bit of influence in the region, but Iran's doing what it wants, and at this point, Israel's doing what it wants as well, in defiance of what the U.S. is demanding. So, you know, the only way forward at this point to regain some sort of credibility in the region is to simply attack Iran and keep going deeper. Outside of that, the U.S. can walk away but look extremely weak. But, you know, it's just kind of weird to me that the U.S. is completely out of control right now.
Yeah, and you know that's not really that's not really a good look. That's basically how the situation around the entire world's going at this point, is that the U.S. has lost control on everything. I mean, I would say at this point, folks, the only thing the U.S. has kind of some control on is the Taiwan situation, and from how it sounds like they're handling that in foreign policy at the moment, I have a feeling they're probably going to be losing that control pretty quickly as well, and Taiwan's just going to go and do whatever the hell they want. And the U.S. is just going to be amiss about that nonetheless, because right now we've completely lost control of the Middle East situation, and now it's basically all the countries in the Middle East kind of doing whatever they want, and the U.S. is just kind of in the midst of the chaos. And then in Europe, the entirety of Europe has completely bucked our approach on Ukraine of just cutting off support and hoping that they starve to death. And the Europeans have now started to support Ukraine entirely on their own with their own weapon systems and support. And we basically lost the entirety of Europe in control, at least, on where that's going to be going or what's going to be happening here in the future. And those sorts of rifts
Yeah.
don't really sound like a whole lot, but in foreign policy, they mean a great deal.
Yeah, so at this point, the U.S. is in the region, but it's like the U.S. is just kind of hanging out in the region at this point. Clearly, the Iranians aren't talking. I mean, they're launching attacks. So when you launch attacks, you're clearly not talking. You're lobbing missiles at people. So the talks aren't happening. Also, you know, Israel's attacking back on Iran. So at this point, the U.S. is basically like sitting in a corner, kind of just looking at the situation like a child in the corner in timeout at this point. They're there, but they're really not like taking an active role in anything in the region right now.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty interesting sort of a thing. Like we're literally just sitting around in the midst of the chaos and have been for a couple of months now, and just letting the whole thing unravel, and we're losing more and more control in the region on how things are even playing out, and we're just watching it happen in real time. And today is really the case. So not a good look at all. And so we're going to be waiting for some further news to come out here at the moment, and we have a whole bunch of interesting things to speak about at this moment. But of course, we are going to be making sure to get on into a couple of questions at this moment to be able to get the chit chat with a couple of y'all while we wait for what is going to be happening. Either an Iranian counterattack, a further Israeli attack, a U.S. announcement, or a U.S. statement. We're not sure what's coming next, but it definitely looks like there's going to be something happening here very soon. So, Matthew, what do we got?
All right. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for more breaking news to come out, also, by the way, I see some people mentioning this in the live chat as well, that we are seeing that apparently there was a mega quake that occurred down in the Philippines just about an hour or two ago. And I mean a mega quake. It was like a magnitude 9 on the Richter
Dang.
scale, which is crazy massive, by the way. There were tsunami alerts that went out here as well. Sadly, it's kind of gotten buried by the Iran situation going out right now. But I was seeing in the Philippines there was buildings literally collapsing in on themselves. There was a tsunami alerts going out. It was a hell of a situation there. Let me see if I can get some information on that, because I see a lot of people taking interest in it. Let's see here. Philippines 9.0 earthquake. It was horrific. I'll say that. 9.0. I can only imagine how that was. I also see people saying 7.8, but I saw people saying it was a 9. I think they updated the amount of like magnitude on it right here. But let's see here. Yeah, so here it is. I'm going to repost this right now. Go take a look at this right here. It shows the magnitude right here.
Oh, dang. Let me go take a look at this real quick. Let's see here. Let's take a gander. A magnitude of, let's see here, a 9.0 according to Visegrad 24. Dang.
It does say here that apparently it's been updated to like an 8.2, I think it looks like. So originally they said 9, but it looks like it's been updated to an 8.2, which is still massive, by the way. I mean, that's about as nearly as large as it gets.
Yeah, an 8.2 is huge, and it looks to have happened right on General Santos City, because that appears to be where the epicenter is very close to. So it's either right off the coast of that, or it is right on that city. So I would assume that the damage is probably going to be massive. The Republic of the Philippines is not known for good construction or good building codes that are strictly enforced. Let me see if I can show you all some of the city here to give you all an idea of what kind of building codes we'd be seeing. Oh, any pictures of the actual city? Let me just go to Street Views to show y'all here. So this is what the average building codes in the Philippines allow for, are structures like these, which are generally shoddily built. And so any earthquakes, usually of a moderate or significant degree, could lead to a lot of structural collapses and also ruptures of structural integrity. So we might be hearing of a mass casualty incident happening in the city here soon, once first responder starts to move around after the original earthquake subsides, and they'll try and start getting to work during the aftershocks, although the aftershocks might also be big and work might be slowed. So we'll
Yeah.
be waiting to see what we get out of that.
So it looks like the Philippine Institute of Seismology is recording a magnitude of 7.8. That's according to the Philippines Institute of Seismology right now. So that appears to be the number that travel.gov is going with, the US travel agencies. It appears that's what they're running with. So they're saying a 7.8. There's been a lot of revisements, by the way. It started out as a 9, then it got revised to an 8.2, and now the Philippines is calling it a 7.8. So nonetheless, it's still large, but it's not necessarily an 8.2. It's a little bit off. But we are seeing that apparently a natural disaster declaration has been declared there by the U.S. Department of State, it looks like. And they're saying that there was a tsunami warning as of 44 minutes ago. So they're apparently having some aftershocks, because obviously when an earthquake that large happens, you have aftershocks that usually come after it. So I haven't heard of the tsunami hitting yet. I'm not sure how long it takes for it to hit, but it seems like it's pretty serious.
Yeah, it certainly does appear quite serious. Hopefully, we won't be hearing of mass casualties. There's going to be definitely a decent amount of casualties, but we're not sure how many of them. Just hopefully not in the thousands. Sometimes that can happen. There was actually an earthquake a while ago in Istanbul, like 10 years ago, that happened, or 20 years ago, and there were thousands that were killed in that earthquake, because Istanbul has some pretty large slums that are poorly built, and the building codes, much like the Philippines, are not really enforced at all, because these are lower income neighborhoods. So when the earthquake came through, it collapsed entire wards of Istanbul that were in that lower income area, and thousands were buried under the rubble. It was a pretty bad sight. But in a city like Istanbul that has an unbelievably large population, it's like 16 million, a couple of thousands kind of a drop in the bucket in a city that size, but still an unfortunate tragedy nonetheless. So with that, we'll be waiting to see if we get any news out of that smaller, well, actually pretty big situation that's now happening in the southern Philippines. And Matthew, do we have any other news and developments on what's going on right now in the Middle East?
Okay, so I am seeing here that I'm seeing an update about that earthquake. By the way, I'm not seeing any updates out of the Middle East right this very second. It looks like, generally speaking, it's not much happening there at the moment. We are expecting something to happen soon, but not right this second. We are seeing though that apparently these tsunami alerts have started going out. It looks like 27 minutes ago there was a tsunami threat forecast that came out. They're saying that tsunami waves reaching more than 3 meters above the tide level are possible along some coast of the Philippines. They're also saying that it could be possible in Indonesia and Malaysia. So apparently tsunami is a real deal. That's a real threat right now. Apparently it hasn't hit yet.
Luckily, I don't think these coastlines around this area are heavily populated, except for probably the city of Manado, but it's kind of in a bay, so it might be protected a bit. So hopefully the tsunamis won't be affecting too many populated areas, and folks in those regions can hopefully seek higher ground in the meantime.
Yeah, I would hope so. Indeed, that's a scary situation. That's one of those natural disasters like a tsunami. That's like one of those things that you really never want to have to experience in your life. That's just absolutely horrifying. You see that huge wall of water coming right at you at the speed of a supercar, basically, depending on where you're standing. So I would hate to see that in real life. I hope those people are okay. But in the meantime, though, I am hearing some more information coming out that we could be getting out of the Middle East right now. A viewer in the chat is saying that there's something going on. So I'm trying to double check that and see if I can get any information about it. But right now, I am not seeing much about any new type of explosions inside of Iran. So I'll have to wait for some more updates about that before we report that as fact. But I'll keep an eye out though. But there's still some rumblings going on right now, so don't think it's over yet. We're probably in for a couple more hours of stuff happening, I would imagine.
And so, we will be waiting to see what exactly happens in this region. It's probably going to be a lot. And with that, in the meantime, we are going to get into a couple of questions to get to chit-chat with you all while we wait for something more to unfold. So, Matthew, what do we got?
Also, by the way, if y'all are new here, by the way, feel free to smack that subscribe button and the bell as well if you want to get notified of our streams that we go live on like this. We typically stream at 10 p.m. Eastern every day except for Mondays on the events around the world, specifically covering conflict. But we also cover other stuff as well if it's big news. So if you're new, smack that subscribe button. We're currently about to hit 600,000 subscribers. We're just about 400 or so subscribers away from that, which is a pretty big milestone for us here on the channel. We've been doing this for years, mainly covering the Ukraine conflict, and then we expanded out beyond that to cover the Middle East, China, etc. So feel free to join us, by the way. And also a huge shout out to all of our channel legends that are also here tonight that have been watching since the very beginning. But jumping into our first super chat, in the meantime, while we keep scanning for breaking news, our first one here is going to go to Old Warrior Fella, who puts in a $100 support.
Hey!
And thank you very much, Old Warrior, for that support. And we do appreciate that. He said LLT LSA plus NAFO and take one and earn this overtime pay.
I gotta thank you incredibly for that humongous support and helping this channel to keep it running. Thank you for the overtime pay. Today has been a hell of a day. I mean, we ran a midday show, got off, and then I tried to go get some food, got some food, and by the time I got it, Matthew was like, "Hey, you want to play Call of Duty?" And then as soon as we got on Call of Duty, this happened. We had to get off immediately and then try and get back to work. So it has been one hell of a day. I mean, I've literally been up as soon as I got up today. Largely, I've been working nonstop. I worked on seeing if there was a shore war video to be made. There wasn't one to be made. Then the first stream of the day happened, and that took some time to get through and cover. And then we only had about an hour break, which was enough to get some food and kind of eat it a little, although I hardly got to eat. And now we're right back on the show, and we're working again. Honestly, a lot of work today. And I gotta thank you so much for the support, Old Warrior Fella, and helping this channel to keep it running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. We wouldn't be able to keep it running, and this thing just wouldn't be possible. So a humongous thanks to you once again. Long live the Lee Spring Army, and a big shout out to you in NAFO things. And so with that, we're on the next one.
And our next one here is going to go to none other. And also, by the way, I see people commenting on that gaming. I usually don't game like that. Like, usually after the stream, I usually got to take a minute to, like wind down from it a little bit. But I knew that something else was probably going to be happening. Also, I know that tomorrow, which is Monday, our day off, we'll probably be here tomorrow too. So we're getting ready for a slog. Like, I'm trying to get the coffee grinding up and brewing and stuff like that. We're in for a slog right here. I even had to go ahead and get myself a little hydration drink over here, a little bit of that liquid IV over here in the water. I need some hydration. You know, they say stay hydrated. I'm not talking about alcohol. I'm talking about water. But jumping into our next super chat here in the meantime, we also have I think a $50 support from Catherine F. And thank you very much, Catherine, for that 50. And we do appreciate that very, very much. I don't see a comment attached with it. Let me double check that. And there is none, but we appreciate that. And Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta say, a big thanks to you for support for that incredible support, Catherine F., and helping this channel to keep on running. And I hope that addresses that incredibly well. You didn't throw in a comment, but your support helps us keep the stream ad-free and sponsor-free, and helps us be able to pay our bills and keep our lights on to do this each and every day. Our entire channel exists off of the generosity of the viewers, and if it wasn't for the viewers that went out of their way to support this channel and help it to keep on running, we wouldn't have been able to make this thing possible for the hundreds of thousands that have watched the channel today. So humongous thanks to you so much once again. And with that, I also see a lot of people giving game recommendations in the chat. COD sucks. Honestly, I'm not really that big of a fan of COD, like, just to be upfront. I just played it because Matthew was like, "Could you play COD?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure," you know, like, I was like, "I'll play it." But I'm not really a huge fan. Generally, the game I play when I get into first-person shooters is Squad, or hopefully the new Hell Let Loose Vietnam that's coming out here really soon. That'll be really cool. But Matthew doesn't have a PC, so he doesn't get to access all of the wondrous games I get to play whenever I get free time. He just gets to play COD because he has an Xbox, and that's really all he can get on there.
I'm a simpleton. I play what's on the Xbox, and I rarely play it that much anymore. I play it sometimes, but not a whole bunch anymore. But I'll say this: I usually keep like I have a Mac, so I don't have a Windows PC. But I like to keep my my gameplay separate from the work computer. I like to keep it all separate like that, so it works out. But yeah, I'm kind of a simpleton. I will say this, not to get too sidetracked, by the way, because of course I'm still scanning for breaking news at the same time. That new Call of Duty Modern Warfare that's based in Korea, that looks like absolute fire. I haven't seen a Call of Duty game that I've been excited about for probably a decade, I would say. So that looks like an exciting one.
Man, I'm telling you this though. I wish, man. I just kind of wish, like with this game. I know it's a Modern Warfare game and all that, but if they're going to make a game based in Korea, can they just have us play as like regular Republic of Korea infantry? Like that would be pretty cool. I mean, I don't know if y'all know a lot about the Republic of Korea's army, which is South Korea's ground forces, but they are really cool. I mean, outside of like White Horse and all of the other special forces units that South Korea has, I just think I'm a huge fanboy of the Republic of Korea's army. They're really cool. Like when you get into their doctrine, their equipment, their training, some of the elements of their uniforms, which are pretty unique, especially at the Kaesong Peace Village. You know, with like the sunglasses and everything. You know, the aviators. You know what I'm talking about, Matthew?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they're sick. I hope we get to play as like the normal rank and file like South Korean troops in that game, because I'm gonna let it release and just watch it before I buy it and see what it looks like and see what it is. But if it's good, I'm gonna get it. But if it's not, I'm gonna skip it, because I haven't bought a Call of Duty game in like 30 years, probably like eons, really. Unless if it's good, I'm not getting it. So with that, I hope that does address that well, and we're on the next one.
All right. So moving into our next one here. Let's see here. Yeah. Moving on to our next one. I thought we had news for a second, but I don't think that's probably worth covering right now. But we also have a 33 from none other than Hal Rose, and thank you, Hal, for the support. He said, "I can't find any way to donate tonight, but necessity is the mother of invention, and drones have revolutionized warfare forever."
And I thank you incredibly for the support, Hal Rose. And tonight we do not have a Sunday night fundraiser, because this stream was actually another impromptu, unplanned one, and there wasn't really a lot of prep that went into it, because usually, like for the Sunday night fundraisers, it's a part of the normal working schedule, and I have to put it together before the show and do a little bit of cataloging and records keeping, and then get it all put together and everything. And I wasn't able to do that tonight because we had to get live on air in about less than 10 minutes. That's really kind of like our running goal, is to, once we hear breaking news, get live on air in about 10 minutes. So I didn't really have time to set one up, unfortunately, for this stream either. But I do thank you incredibly for the support and helping this channel to keep running. And I would definitely agree with you. Drones have changed the face of war forever. It's never going to go back to the way it was. That is a guarantee. So a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $20 support from WKRP in Salt Lake City, by the way, and thank you very much for the $20 support. He said, "Hello from Salt Lake, Utah." And also he said, "You guys are the best, and every time I hear the national anthem, when it ends, I just hear, 'Hello, everyone.' And what if Iran strike the Bushehr plant in their way?"
That's interesting right there. It's a very interesting question. Also, I gotta say, I bet that's becoming like a pretty big norm for everybody to hear the national anthem and then, "Hello, everyone, I'm the enforcer," because that's what we do every single night. But I gotta say, I love the national anthem. Sadly, we don't even get to listen to the whole thing every night. I have to mute it about 20 seconds towards the end. So once it gets to the great crescendos at the end of the anthem, we don't even get to hear any of that most nights. But I do have to say that as far as the Iranian striking Bushehr nuclear power plant, I doubt it, because it would generally end up being detrimental to them and the Iranian nation. And I also have a feeling that if there was ever a situation where the Islamic regime was on the down and out, there probably would be a special forces team or a special operation, a ground operation conducted by the United States to secure that power plant and to make sure that something like that cannot be conducted. So I hope that does address that the best I can. And a big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $50 support from fakeandflamboyant.com, who put in a 50, and thank you very much for that support, by the way. Very generous of you. He said, "I've been trying to word another Mujtaba super chat in my normal fashion, but YouTube keeps censoring normal English words in a particular fashion. It's sad. It was so flamboyant."
It was flamboyant, Kathleen. Man, and I gotta tell you, I got to tell you, folks, I heard that one of Muchtaba's one of his favorite breakfast meals is Fruit Loops. I don't know where that came from, but I heard that it was his favorite snack. Usually, he wakes up and he gets out of the closet every morning and goes to eat the Fruit Loops. So, I mean, honestly, the guy has really got some character. I heard from the president he's a stand-up guy and he'd like to meet him. I don't know if I'd ever like to meet an enemy of the Republic myself. Maybe at a war crimes trial, I'd meet him at. Hopefully, as one of the spectators in the bleachers watching the criminal prosecution underway. But I really wouldn't want to meet Mujtaba or any of the other Khamenis for that matter, outside of that sort of a situation. That's just me personally, though. But a big thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running and making this thing possible. I was about to read off your name there, and I just realized what your name was again. And I got to say a big shout out to you, fake.com, because that's the only part I can read. But a big thanks to you once again. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, by the way, y'all want to see a video of what's happening in the Philippines right now because of that earthquake? There's literal malls and buildings literally like crumbling apart right now. I think we should be good to show this real quick. This 15-second snippet right here. We should be okay. So you can show this to the people.
All right, and let's take a look. This is actually a mall appearing to collapse because of the earthquake. Dang. That's wild.
Yeah, look at the whole thing's just falling apart. Also, that's not even the worst of it. I saw some convenience store or something that was in this larger building complex. The whole thing just collapsed in on itself like a controlled demolition to a large degree. So, it's just a rough scenes coming out of the Philippines. I would imagine there's probably death happening.
Yeah, I have a feeling that that's probably the case. We're probably going to be hearing of some decent fatalities and casualties coming out of this, unfortunately. But I hope it's not too much because it's inevitable at this point. Just I hope it's not a lot since it's now inevitable. But with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have here a super chat from none other than Trister1. And thank you very much, Trister, for the $20 support as well. He said, stay on top of the news, guys, and thank you. And I'll tell you, I'm staying on top of the news. Like, we're both staying on top of it a lot, like, right now. Like, when I got off the air earlier, before I hopped on COD for, I think it was, 15 minutes at the most, but before the news broke back out, I had went to go get food. I got a little Chipotle bowl for food, and I was checking it all the way there and back from going to get the food. So it's a nonstop process when it hops off like this. It's literally 24/7. Like, I'm checking it even while I'm sleeping. I'm checking it in my head. Like, I'm in my mind, I'm here. But Enforcer, what say you?
Luckily, kind of usually when Matthew's asleep, I'm checking it, and because I kind of go to sleep a good bit later than he does, so I'm kind of checking it, and then there's kind of there's a little window at night where both of us are not up, where something could happen. But usually things happening during that time window is exceptionally rare. I mean, extremely rare. But it's quite the thing trying to stay on top of the noose and trying to make sure that we can cover it. And I gotta say, folks, I didn't expect this Sunday to be this busy, and I hate to say this, folks, but I'm really hoping and praying that nothing really happens tomorrow where we have to get on air, because it's getting exhausting with how this is happening every Monday, and we really don't get a day off anymore. It's basically just 7 days a week, 24/7, nonstop for the past month.
There's people that work traditional jobs that don't work this much, 7 days a week. It's crazy, man. We're working more than a traditional job at this point. Everybody talks about YouTube being easy.
Man, oh man, I get no respect around here. I tried to get an easy job. I started working on YouTube. I have to work 7 days a week. Oh man, I'm telling you. I mean, it's honestly kind of crazy though. It's damn. It's could we get a break? Could we get a little bit of a break? Could they not do something on a Monday? Maybe.
No breaks. Don't work. Create money for the shareholders. We are the shareholders.
Man. That's actually true. We are the shareholders.
Man, it's a crazy thing when you're the shareholder, the boss, the partner, whatever you want to call it. Which both of us are. It's you kick your own self in the rump. You just say, you may wake up one morning because people have their days. People have good days, bad days, etc., including us. Some days you may wake up and be like, "Damn, I'm tired," and then you see on the news, World War III is breaking out. And you're like, kick yourself in the ass and get on the air. That's what we do. We do it. And I'll say that's for me. That's rarer for both of us. Usually we're pretty much gung ho to get on the air, but recently though it's nonstop. Mondays aren't even a day off anymore for the most part.
It's tiresome. It's tiresome. Every day I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this and that. Oh shit, I gotta stay at home and wait for something to happen. Because anything could happen at any point, and if it does, then you gotta leave whatever you're doing and immediately get to working. And the closer you are to, or the closer we are to our homes, the quicker we can get on air. So then we basically have to be stuck at our house all day, which is a pretty boring thing because you don't really get out and do a whole lot, like exercise or, just getting out into the sunlight or something. You don't get to do any of that. You just get stuck in a building. It's been like that for a while now. Like it's been terrible. Like I've been wanting to do a little bit of hiking and lose a couple of calories, a couple of pounds for like a month, and I haven't been able to do that because we have to be right here waiting for something to happen almost every day. So with that, I hope that it does address that. Well, not to sit here and like vent and complain because we're always happy to do this. But at the same time, I wish we would have some free time, just once a week to get out and do some stuff rather than work.
You'll get some free time eventually. But, there's always a time in somebody's life, like usually around older age, when you finally get to rest a lot. But anyways,
I think I know. I think they have these brand new condominiums. Here, let me show y'all. It's these.
Yeah. So you get to rest. This is the permanent rest right here. But until you get there, keep your hands handy and keep working, they say. But also, by the way, we do have a little bit of news coming out right now that apparently let me make sure I get his actual title, by the way. Let's see here. The U.S. ambassador to Israel, which is Mike Huckabee, he said on Twitter, Iran fired missiles at Israel last night and early today. Last night.
Oh,
Was it? Am I losing my mind, or is he mistaken?
Duh.
This didn't happen last night.
No, this didn't happen last night. No. I mean, maybe
What's
he's
he talking about?
I don't even know. I think it's the Palm Beach Breakfast Club syndrome. They don't really know what the hell they're doing. But let's just keep reading it. Maybe it'll make sense later.
Okay, so I'm not sure what he means by last night because the first we've heard about this is this morning, or this evening actually. But he claims that they fired missiles at Israel last night and early today. I said the missile alerts sounded at 6 a.m. in Jerusalem, and they were intercepted, thank God. And Iran and its proxy agents of evil want to incinerate America and Israel. Mothership of Satan is Tehran, he said. Okay, I get it now. We're being goofy. I think we're getting tired, but it's the time difference, by the way. That's all. That's our fault for that. That's why he's saying last night. For him, it was last night because in Israel the time's obviously different.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. Yeah, that was a huge oversight on our part, by the way. Sounded probably stupid there for a second, but so that's what he's saying. He's saying the Satan is in Tehran. So that's the U.S. ambassador to Israel.
Yeah, I'd have to say, I think we did have a lapse of mental abilities right there. Oh, that didn't happen. It did over there, just not over here. It was all in the same day over here. But interesting to hear, and some very interesting statements. But looks like the U.S. ambassador might be saying something that the president might or might not say. We haven't gotten a comment from the president yet. And I also saw someone say in the chat, "You all have it tough. Think of the people deploying the military." Well, yeah, but I mean, like you could say that about everything. You'd be like, "Oh, you think you have it tough? Working in the coal mines in America 7 days a week. Well, there's some kid in Africa who's like 6 years old and he's having to fight as a child soldier to be able to make food for his family." It's like, you could say that about everything. There's always someone out there in the world who has it worse. But, generally speaking for us, it is kind of tiring to work all day, every day. That's usually what a normal person would say.
We'll be all right.
We'll be all right, but yeah, but at the same time, making it sound like, oh, well, there's people worse. It's like there's always worse. It's like that doesn't make any sense. Like I'm sure you complain about something in your life, like, boy, I hate my wife or something, and it's like, well, you're lucky. I mean, you could be that dude from that movie Obsession. It's like you can make that case about anything. But anyways, with that, we're on the next one.
Our next one goes to Chris Feilbach, and thank you very much, Chris, for that $50 support, by the way, and we do appreciate that very much. And Chris said, okay, when you said Fruit Loops, I actually laughed my ass off. That was so probably much better than what the other person wrote, not that I could know, of course.
And I thank you for the support. It's just that some people kind of get like a little bit too direct with it, so then we have to kind of like soften it up a little. So like that's the reason why I said it. I mean, honestly, the first one wasn't too bad. It's just that I gotta try and find a way to to address it and do it in a bit of a smoother way, you know, make it a little bit more comical. But big thanks to your support, Chris, and really appreciating the joke and getting a hoot out of it, because we love to know that folks here on the show get a real hoot out of the jokes we make from time to time. All of them don't land, and some of them are pretty corny, but hey, you know, it's a part of doing jokes live on air without any prep, you know. Some of them hit, some of them miss. But a big thanks to you for support. I hope that it's addressed that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $20 support from Shauna, and thank you very much, Shauna, as well. And she said, I appreciate y'all's coverage.
And I thank you so much for your appreciation of this coverage, Shauna. We greatly appreciate everybody who enjoys our coverage and supports it so we can keep this thing running day in and day out, non-stop, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The world will be ending and we'd be on air. I tell you, like it's at this point, we would be. But a big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep on running. And a big thanks to you once again for making this thing a reality. And with that, we're on the next one.
Okay, so I've got some more news. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. We have some news right now, in all seriousness. Pretty big news, actually. A senior Israeli official has given statements to several different outlets in the region right now in the Middle East. A senior Israeli official is telling Channel 14 News inside of Israel that Israel is on the threshold of several days of battle with the Iranians and their proxies in the Middle East. And that's coming from a senior Israeli official. So they are confirming that it's about to break out, and that's also what we're estimating as well. We're also hearing that Israel estimates that Iran will respond to the attacks within hours, they say. And this will start a multi-day battle with the Iranians. So essentially, full-on war. That's what we're looking at here. I'm sure the U.S. is aware of that at this point. I would imagine so. But Enforcer, what say you?
Well, I would say that definitely sounds like a description of a movie. We are on the threshold of several days of battle with the Iranians and their proxies in the Middle East. This is, let's see, this is going to be Mr. Yoo-Hoo in the quest for further stays on prosecution. like, I think that's going to be our title for this movie, maybe. But it does sound like that's definitely the case. And what the United States is going to be doing in the midst of this all, we still have no clue. The U.S. has really not made any official comments on the situation yet, and we're still waiting to see if they will. So with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have here a super chat in the meantime while we wait for more breaking news from Truck and Shelf. And thank you, Truck and Shelf, for that $20 support. He said, bear with me, but hypothetically, what if the U.S. told Israel to attack while the U.S. publicly told them not to, as to lure Iran to attack U.S. troops so the U.S. can attack in defense? And thoughts? I don't think so. I'll be honest with you, Truck and Chef. I actually brought that up with Andrew off the air the other day. I said maybe this is like Israel's way to like restart the war and give the U.S. some type of defensive explanation for attacking Iran again, so that way they can get around the legal problems with the War Powers Act. But I don't think this is manufactured. I think the anger from the U.S. officials and the Israeli officials toward each other at this point, I think that's legitimate. It seems like it's actually real. But Enforcer, what say you?
I think that's legitimate as well. I don't really think that the U.S., like, I gotta say, if the U.S. really was looking for a reason to get back at Iran and say that they're conducting a defensive action, there is no better a way than when they directly attack a U.S. base and go, oh, they blew something up, they wounded a couple of guys, we're going back to it. That would be the justification alone, and that's already happened several times over the past 2 months. The Israelis really getting attacked or opening up further attacks by Iran, it's just giving us the same opportunity that we've already passed by about 6 or 8 times at this point over the past 2 months that we haven't taken. And so I think that the U.S. is legitimately working off of the position they don't want to escalate the situation, which is ridiculous because the situation has to escalate for us to reopen the strait. Yet for some reason, the president and his people don't really get that. So a big thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. I hope that does address it well. It's a good point, but I think that that's legitimately the U.S.'s position and it's not some sort of a feint for the public to see. So with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a $25 support from Coca-Cola Mandate, and thank you as well for the support. They said, is Iran's attack less retaliation than negotiation by fire? And was Ayatollah escalation warning Washington that Hezbollah's survival is a core Iranian interest and not a tradable asset?
They've generally made it clear that they're not going to stop their support or sponsorship of terrorist forces throughout the whole of the Middle East, to the point that the U.S. doesn't even really bring that up anymore to the Iranians. In fact, we haven't heard of that in the talks for about a month at this point, actually. So it generally appears that the Iranians have already made that clear, and that's something that we aren't really approaching or talking to the Iranians with, at least from the little leaks that we get out from the situation or the alleged talks that were ongoing for a while here and there. And I would say that it's more so retaliation because the Iranians look at the defense of of the Hezbollah forces in Lebanon as a key national interest because it's the largest force that they have near to Israel. And so when the Israelis start to bomb critical control centers or command centers of Hezbollah inside of Lebanon, the Iranians have made it fairly clear and a running precedent over the past several years since 2024 that they will respond militarily to any critical or possibly endangering attacks against Hezbollah with their own armed forces. So this is entirely retaliation that we saw today. So big thanks to you for support. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And our next super chat is going to go to Kyle F. And thank you, Kyle, for the $20 support. He said, thank you for putting in the extra work for today. And you make my night drives to work tolerable. And I'm starting the stream from the beginning. So please take one from the chat and I'll catch up and LSA.
And thank you
and
so
also,
much.
by the way, thank you, Kyle, for that. I actually put out a post on our Discord. There's actually not our Discord, it's the fan server, really. I put out a post over there and our Twitter page right after we got off the stream earlier today. I said, that'll be our only stream for today, folks. It's over with. And then I had to delete that post right before we went live now because, unexpectedly, all of a sudden Israel jumped to action out of the blue. So I hope we're making your night drive more tolerable. And we're also here doing our own night drive, if you could say that too. But Enforcer, what say you?
We're on a spiritual journey of a sort right now to figure out how much shit's going to happen before the U.S. actually returns back to fighting. And I think that's a journey that really doesn't matter about the end conclusion. It's about all the friends we've made along the way. But we're making a lot of them tonight. We right now are at 599,550 subscribers. We're only 450 subscribers away from 600,000 subscribers. Wouldn't that be such a nice and round number to see here on this channel, folks? 600,000 subscribers. We never even imagined we'd make it to 500,000, much less 600,000. Please, folks, there are starving enforcers here in Utah that would require your subscription. Please do subscribe. We'd love to see y'all join us. But outside of that, I got to say we're happy to make your nightly drive more interesting, and I've got to say that your support is helping to make many a people's night a lot more interesting, whether they're at home, driving to work, at work, or driving home from work. And so big thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we're going to check Flight Radar 24. And what do we got going on here? Well, we have one KC-46 that's hanging out in the Persian Gulf. We have another KC-135 that's hanging out in the Persian Gulf. We have one KC-35 hanging out in the Gulf of Oman. We also have a P-8 Poseidon kind of wandering around between Qatar and the UAE. And we also have another P-8 Poseidon currently bulling it on out into the Eastern Mediterranean. What else do we have? Well, we have absolutely no U.S. supply flights coming into the Middle East, which appears to be showing that the U.S. has cleared out the airspace because they're expecting further actions. And apparently we're getting alerts. Oh my goodness, that is a lot of alerts.
Okay, so we're hearing about a ballistic missile launch from Kermanshah, Iran right now. That's apparently being confirmed from anecdotal evidence on the ground inside of Iran right now. We're seeing that from our sources here, in the last 40 seconds, a ballistic missile has been launched. Is this the active warnings right now on Tizafar?
Yes, these are the active ones. It is now expanded to Beersheba. That was the one that was just added.
Oh, man, so they're already targeting... That's the Negev Desert that's currently got an alert in it, isn't it?
Kind of, sort of, yeah, it's getting down there. You know what's interesting, Andy, is I said, you remember what I said earlier? I don't mean to say this, folks, and to my own whistle, but I said they're going to be definitely attacking Tel Aviv in their next round of attacks. They are doing that right now. This is the Iranian attack now. The prior one was the Houthi attack, and we got that prediction dead on the money. The first place they're going for is Tel Aviv, first and solely, basically.
Yeah, so at this point, we have breaking news, folks. It does appear that they're currently under attack as of right now. So it looks like Iran's response has not taken too long. So that's apparently why the Iranians were silent. They were currently basically prepping their launchers and their missiles. So they weren't apparently meeting with Mojtaba. They were simply getting ready to launch a pretty large attack. So that's a pretty big deal right now. Confirmed sirens going off inside of Israel, inside of all the major central cities inside of Israel as of right now. So this is literally fresh off the news right now that there are brand new attacks happening as we speak. I'm trying to get some more information about this right now. Let's see here. Also, a big thanks to everybody on Twitter sending me stuff right now. I got like all kinds of accounts sending stuff right now. But we are currently seeing as well that apparently, let's see here. Sorry for stalling, folks. I'm trying to check a couple of sources before I say this. I'm going to refrain from reporting that for right now. I was about to report something else. I'll refrain from that for the moment. But Enforcer, what do you make of this attack?
Sounds to me like this is the Iranian response, the starting response to the Israeli airstrikes, and this is going to start the never ending reciprocal strike circle between Israel and Iran. And I have a feeling that, right now we don't know this for sure, but I have a feeling that Iran's going to extend this to the Gulf states and the United States in large form as well here soon. And also now we have a whole bunch of new reports coming out of the West Bank right here that just popped up. Here's all of them right over here. So quite a lot of them. Actually, that's
Yeah,
basically everything.
that's quite a lot right there, I would say so. So let's see here. I'm trying to desperately get news. This is so early, folks. I really don't have a whole bunch of news about this right now. But let's see if I get some more details about this. The central part, like we're seeing that right now, all the alerts coming out. So we're seeing all the different sirens going off right now. I'm sure we'll get some video evidence at the moment. We don't know how many have been launched. We know that Kermanshah is the launch site of at least one ballistic missile, but it looks like several have been launched. So I'm trying to figure out the number right now. I'm seeing some people say they're seeing launches from other places in Iran.
Oh,
We did see.
we just had
Oh,
updates. We just had updates. We're now seeing air alerts extending to every populated area of the Negev Desert in real time, right? And actually now new alerts have been
oh,
issued for the whole Tel Aviv area as well.
damn! So they're going for the nuclear sites off the bat. It looks like they're going straight for the Negev Desert. Now, of course, there is the Nevatim Air Base, I believe, down there. So there are a couple of air bases, but generally, though, where is the Demona site out of all this right here? Can you point it out?
It's way down here. They don't have an alert right now. It looks like this is going for Nevatim and Beersheba and all of the populated areas just east of Beersheba. But it looks like it might be going for military targets because one of those alerts that just came out is right on top of the Nevatim air base right here at the town of Kasaifa. And we can see right now that Kasaifa is under an alert, and everything around the Nevatim air base is under an alert. This little void right here is the air base.
Yeah, that's bad right there. That's a lot of alerts. Like that's a huge concentration of literally central Israel, the desert areas. Also, it extends all the way into northern Israel to a large degree, or at least somewhat. What a wide ranging attack. This seems to suggest that there's multiple ballistics involved in this, not just one or two, like we saw the Yemenis fire just one of them. This appears to be a much larger strike.
I mean, this is literally the heart of Israel, except for the southern region near Eilat and north near Haifa and Kiryat Shimona. Like, this is everything else, basically.
Yeah, and let me see here. I'm trying to get some more details. Still trying to get some right now. Let's see here. Excuse me, by the way. So we're currently seeing as well that we are confirming that ballistic missiles have been launched. We got some images here. And fortunately, you can show these images right here and let the people see. We are confirming that Tabriz is another launch site, apparently. And we're getting some images coming out of various different launch sites inside of Iran right this very second.
And we can see right here, that's one of the launches in Tabriz. And we're also hearing reports from Kermanshah. It looks like mostly launches from the whole of Western Iran. And we've also been able to hear that, according to the IDF, a short while ago, the IDF identified missile launches from Iran towards the territory of the State of Israel. Defensive systems are operating to intercept the threat. In the past few minutes, the Home Front Command has sent a precautionary directive directly to mobile phones in the relevant areas. The public is asked to act responsibly and follow the instructions. They save lives. Upon receiving an alert, the public is instructed to enter a protected space and remain there until further notice. Leaving a protected area is permitted only after receiving explicit instructions. The public is requested to continue acting in accordance with the Home Front Command's guidelines. In the meantime, we're now seeing that a lot of the new alerts are starting to subside from their recency, but we are seeing that a large area is currently being affected right now by these incoming alerts. We can see the ones that were just newly issued in deep dark red, and the other ones are in a more muted, faded color of red.
Also, by the way, we have some Israelis right now in the chat, by the way. I'm trying to get some information from them about where they're seeing these interceptions. I'm seeing that some people are claiming they've had interceptions right over their head. I think some of our viewers might be in Tel Aviv right now that are currently reporting that information. So it sounds like the Iron Dome is currently active right now. Also, we are getting confirmation that southern Negev Desert is under an alert right now, which is generally the general vicinity of the nuclear site down there at Dimona. So we're not sure if that's the exact target or not, but we are hearing that warnings are popping up there as we're hearing right now. So a pretty large situation. Trying to get some more information as we speak right now, but that appears to be largely it. So we're simply waiting to get video of the interception and also see exactly what's being targeted. As you can see, the target area is massive, so it could be anything.
Could be everything, actually. It could be everything all at the same time. Interesting enough, we also see that the areas around that missile testing range near Bet Shemesh are also under alerts as well right now.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Man, that is a whole lot. a whole lot of something. And so hopefully we'll be able to get some video and picture evidence out soon of the interceptions. It sounds like explosions are already occurring over Israel, meaning that the missiles are making it into the area. And right now we are still watching the red alerts and their updates here on tsofdom.com, which is where we're getting this information from. So Matthew, do we have any other information coming out right now of the interceptions over Israel?
So nothing right now that's too crazy. I see a lot of other analysts saying this appears to be a very large ballistic missile attack. But I can't even begin to estimate how many ballistics have been launched at this point. We know there's multiple launch sites. Earlier, we saw that about 24 medium-range ballistic missiles were fired, or I think also some SRBMs as well, a short-range variant. We just got
New
some more alerts
alerts.
here. Where's this at?
This is all once again around Nevatim. These are new.
Okay. Also, Damona is now included in that. So the Damona site is apparently under a warning as of right now. So that's apparently confirmed. I see that listed there. The Damona site is listed, the industrial area. So that's a pretty big deal.
No. This isn't the Negev Nuclear Research Center. This is the town of Dimona that has the alert out right now because that's Negev right here, and that's the town of Dimona, which is a few miles away.
Yeah, but that means they could be going for there too. I don't think they necessarily issued one for like in the middle of the area over there. I think that means that Damona is under threat as well. At least that's what I recall seeing the last time they launched strikes in Damona. It was generally the nearby town of Damona itself. They got the alert when they tried to hit the nuclear site.
You know, you're right. That actually is true. Actually, I'm thinking back about that. That is right. So they might try and hit it. But if they hit it, it's not like anything bad's going to happen. By the way, folks, I have to make sure and remove a lot of the anxiety about this one off the bat. If anyone hits a research reactor, the worst case scenario is that nothing happens. Like that's basically it. This is not a power producing reactor where it has a significant meltdown and then it starts releasing huge amounts of radiation. The Israelis blew up almost a perfect antithesis of this reactor in Iraq at the IR-40. Well, in Iran at the IR-40 reactor site near Iraq, and the radiation that was emitted from the reactor dome being blown wide open was literally the smallest amount higher than background radiation. If this facility gets hit, really nothing's going to come out of it. It just stops the Israelis from producing plutonium, which is a byproduct of this research reactor. So hopefully we'll see that doesn't happen, but that'll be interesting if it does. Also, it appears the pizza index is going a little crazy right now. Matthew, who in the world's eating pizza at the Pentagon? And oh, damn. And why?
So it's pretty late right now for pizza over there. So it's 11 p.m. right now in D.C. It looks like the bar here, which is an alternative bar. I guess that's the political way to
The
say
one
it.
that Mujtaba likes.
Yeah, this one right here, the alternative bar is apparently experiencing low traffic, but the pizza joints are experiencing traffic through the roof at 11 p.m. at night, which indicates that people are eating heavy at the Pentagon and they're trying to eat good. So it does appear that they're currently spending the night at the Pentagon from the looks of it. So the pizza index, for whatever it's worth, is apparently a little bit higher than usual.
Looks like many are eating pizza, and some are skipping out on the meat. So it appears that there's definitely a lot of activity going on around the Pentagon right now, and we'll have to see if that means that the U.S. is getting involved in some way, shape, or form. But this might just be more so working overtime to observe the situation that's going on right now in the Middle East, rather than the U.S. getting directly involved, because it would be important for the Pentagon to gather the information, extrapolate it, work with it, and then try and get some analysis and reports out on what's going on and how this might affect the U.S.'s forces position, even if the U.S. is going to be involved in doing basically nothing.
Indeed. Also, we have some more breaking news right now. More ballistic missiles have been launched from the area of western Tehran, it sounds like, or west of Tehran. We've seen ballistics get launched from the Tehran province right now. So we're also getting confirmations that explosions are being heard over Tel Aviv. We're also seeing interceptions over Jerusalem and Israel. So it's a lot of missiles coming in. It's not just like a handful. Apparently, it's a decent number of them, which also lines up with the reports that we saw on the red alerts from Tizafar as well. So it does appear to be a pretty wide-ranging attack. It appears that everything that we saw is under attack that was on the map earlier. So a pretty decent sized one. We could be seeing already a second wave from the look of it, because we heard about the launches about 10 minutes ago, the first launches. Now we're hearing about more launches from western Tehran. So I think we could be already on the second wave, and we're currently getting the images of the first wave getting intercepted that we saw, just a couple of minutes ago.
Certainly does appear that that's the case. We're, of course, finally seeing folks prove interceptions over Israel. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to hear whether there's been any direct impacts in Tel Aviv to get that side of the story out. There might be. It's just a little bit unclear at the moment. And we can see that the alerts are still operational over the entirety of Israel. And so it does appear that there are still incoming threats. We now have video. We have now upgraded to video. So let us take a gander. Let us take a look. That right there, that little white dot is an interception. So that's all the video shows, unfortunately. And it's daylight, so we're not really going to be able to see the Iranian missiles that well, or the interceptors that well, unfortunately. So a lot of the clips are probably just going to be of the white puffs of smoke, because it's going to be hard to track it any other way. But still showing us right now that Tel Aviv is under attack, and there are active interceptions over the city.
Yeah, and also, by the way, folks, if this is how large the attacks are in the opening salvos between Israel and the Iranian IRGC forces, they're planning on doing this for several days, which tells you that unless Iran is acting reckless and they're launching a whole lot more missiles up front than they actually have in their arsenal, then this means they have missiles to spare. Because if they're starting out with salvos this large, which are apparently involving possibly dozens of ballistic missiles, that means they definitely still have a pretty good bit of their arsenal left at this point, unless they're being reckless, like I said, and firing too much up front. So I would imagine they've probably calculated this out to a large degree. So what we're seeing now is apparently their actual capabilities, if we can believe that.
I have a feeling that this probably is. Maybe their capabilities, but then again, overwhelming attacks usually are what the Iranians have done in the past. So this might be their opening attempts at an overwhelming attack. And once these sorts of attacks round out, even if the next following attacks aren't that large, usually a lot of missiles make it through because they've eaten up most of Israel's interceptors by that point. So that might be what they're aiming for right now, or they might be trying to work on that at a slower pace.
Could be. Also, let's see here. Darn it, I just spelled that wrong. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Got to get a little source here that's coming out. Where the hell is what happened to my boy? Where's my source? Like, he's not even popping up on Twitter. What, did Twitter just suspend his account? What the hell's going on with that? But I'll have to check that in a second. But anyways, though, we are seeing that interceptions are being reported of Jerusalem, Israel, right this minute. We are hearing of Tel Aviv also intercepting missiles. I can't tell if they've been intercepted or not. We did see in the video that there was a couple that was intercepted in the video that we just saw, but explosions going off all over the place. Let me figure out what the hell happened to one of my sources just a minute ago. I think he just got removed off of Twitter, but Enforcer, I'm gonna let you take it from here.
One of our sources got removed off of Twitter. Why? Man, like, our sources are good. But in the meantime, we are seeing that there are air defense interceptions being conducted over Tel Aviv. The second wave might be incoming at the moment. It might get shot down here fairly soon. We're still trying to get further information on that one. And what do we got?
So we got a whole bunch of stuff here from OSIN Defender. He's been posting images here that are probably from Telegram, I'd imagine. Let's take a look at all this stuff right here. Also, by the way, I'll be back in just a second. Got to take a quick break while you cover this stuff right here. I'll be right back.
All right, and so while Matthew is taking that quick break right there, we can see another puff of an air defense interception conducted in the skies over the city of Tel Aviv. We also have this clip as well, showing more of the missile interceptors at work over the city. Let's take a look at this. You see the interceptions right there over the city. And moving us on from that clip, we also got this footage here as well, showing a slight wisp of a air defense missile that flew through the air at a prior point. And in the meantime, we are seeing that on Flight Radar 24, there now appears to be a larger amount of aerial activity being conducted over the area. And we can also see, accounting for all air traffic within the region, most of the airspace between Iran and Israel has been cleared out. Military air traffic appears to be something of a steady norm. We can see that some KC-135s are starting to fly back towards Israel, while another one remains in the Gulf of Oman, which is showing that the United States is still continuing some of its air actions within the area, but generally the eyes are mostly on Israel. So, Matthew, what else do we have here? What else do we have?
Okay, so we are getting some more information about the launch sites here. I just reposted it right now. We're also seeing that apparently we're getting some reports that a missile fragment has fallen on the West Bank inside of Israel. We're also getting an image of that. So I'm reposting a whole bunch here. We got a lot of images coming out right now. We're getting, in fact, a flood of images coming out, and also hearing about possible more missile launches that are being conducted by Iran at this very moment.
And we can see the fragment here that exploded in the West Bank, which is quite interesting to see. And we also were able to see as well that apparently a lot of the launches were conducted within Western Iran, which generally lines up with what we were originally thinking primarily. And so we're still waiting for more information to come out at this point, but we can confirm that something has exploded within the West Bank. We also were able to see another puff of an air defense interception, and according to FITUX Network, another missile launch has been observed from Iran, possibly. So we're still waiting to see if that wave of attacks is going to be coming in here within the next few minutes, because it probably should be if that information is accurate.
Yeah, it does appear to be the case. But right now, though, outside of those images and videos that we're getting of the interceptions, we have not gotten any information so far indicating that Iran has been able to successfully impact any of the targets that they set out to hit. We haven't seen that so far. Hopefully, it stays that way. But one thing I want to note as well, we're seeing the ballistic missiles get launched by Iran, but here's the catch. The last time Iran was attacking Israel, the way that they ended up defeating the Israeli air defense systems is they launched a whole bunch of Shahed drones, of course, at the Israeli airspace, which overwhelmed the Iron Dome and Arrow systems that they currently have in the area. So we're not seeing any reports of drones. This appears to be a ballistic missile attack only to a large degree, which is kind of unusual. I do find that to be a little bit odd. Why do you think that might be?
It might be because the drones are still on the way, maybe?
Maybe, like, it seems like if they were going to be out of some munitions, it seems like they would be out of missiles before they ran out of drones first. But yeah, at the same time, it seems like Iran would have fired drones as well. So I'm not sure if maybe they're having a problem with their drone launches or something, or maybe they're running low on them and they're conserving their drones, or maybe they're saving them for future, like, salvos on Israel. But it's a little bit interesting they haven't fired any so far that we've even seen.
Yeah, maybe it's because they're holding them back. Maybe they're planning on those and conducting the real damage, and the missiles are there because they're considered higher priority to shoot down, so that way the Israelis use an interceptor on every single one of those. Maybe that's the case, possibly. But I mean, the Iranians do have thousands of ballistic missiles in storage that they can use. And if they even have 70% of what they had pre-war, which was expected to be, I think it was like 3 to 4,000, that means they'd still have about, if they had 4,000, they'd still have about 3,000 left. And if they had 3,000 left, they'd still have about 2,250 of them left. So they'd still have a lot of them to be able to use.
Yeah, one thing's for certain though, Iran's definitely got some missiles left. They're firing some more right now, in fact. So I don't know if we're on the second or third wave. I don't really know what wave we're on right now. But we're definitely seeing some secondary launches that we're hearing about right now. So I'm not sure where these are being launched from, but I'm hearing from anecdotal evidence inside of Iran that they're firing yet even more missiles. So we'll have to see where this is going here. But we're seeing some more missiles get fired at this very moment.
And so we will have to watch and wait until we see another development happening within this area. And I have a feeling that we will be. I have a feeling, folks. Make sure to stay patient, folks. We're going to be seeing something going down again here in this area. But in the midst of that, it is time for us to get on into a couple more questions while we wait for more to come out.
Also, here's something else interesting. Take this report for what you will right now, but I'm hearing reports from Telegram that Iran is using a signal jammer, and the target seems to be an unidentified ship. I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm not sure if I should take that as credible information or not, but that's kind of weird. Like, apparently Iran is targeting a ship with a signal jammer. I'm not sure what to make of that. Do you have any idea of what that could mean?
Um, Not really. Also, I don't know why in the world they're always using a signal jammer. Why aren't they ever using a signal jellier?
I don't know.
Honestly, those are the questions we really should be asking here. But that in short, that stupid joke is basically to say I have really no clue what they're doing with that. There's such little information there, we really can't get a story out of it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of that in all seriousness, but we'll keep an eye on that though. But I don't know about that. I'm taking that with a grain of salt for right now. It sounds like some mumbo jumbo. But moving on from that though, and moving back into some super chats, we're waiting for some more news to come out. By the way, that's why we're moving back to these temporarily. We'll probably only get one or two until we get back to the news. But our next one here goes to none other than Andrew Hebert, who puts in a $100 support, and thank you very much, Andrew, for that 100, and we do
Hey!
appreciate that very, very much. He said, "What would Norman Schwarzkopf say about the USA and its stalling tactics right now?"
He probably wouldn't be much of a fan of it. He wasn't really, he was pretty gung-ho sort of a commander back in the day and was heavily in support of intervening in support of Kuwait when the Iraqis illegally invaded and annexed Kuwait in 1991. And so I'd have a feeling that he'd probably be absolutely blown away at this point with this kind of waffling. To be honest, I feel like if he was a commander during this period in time, he probably would have resigned in protest and made public statements deriding the current leadership in the United States for how poorly they're reacting within the Middle East and how badly they're jeopardizing the foreign policy situation within the region, in my honest opinion. But I don't really want to speak like I would know Schwarzkopf. I never knew him personally, and I wouldn't really know what he would think of what's happening today because he died in 2012. And that was well before any of this kind of a foreign policy landscape ever even was in a protoplasmic phase when he passed away. Like he wouldn't even know what the stuff is to really even know what he would reliably say about it. But still, I hope that does address that. Well, I mean, like there is someone that we do know who would say something that was around when Schwarzkopf was around, which would be General Mattis from the Marine Corps, and he wasn't really a big fan of the current leadership's leadership at all. He protested well, he resigned in protest as well in a prior incident for completely different reasons in the first term of the current administration. I have a feeling that that probably would stay true today. So I hope that has addressed it the
Mad
best I
dog.
can.
Mad dog.
Mad Dog 2020. But anyway, so that big thanks to you for support and helping this channel to keep running. I hope that does address that incredibly well, Andrew. And with that, we're on the next one.
And our next one goes to Bex Chitwood, who put in a 20, and thank you, Bex, as well. They said, thanks for the coverage and working the overtime. And in honor of the Sunday night fundraiser, donation made directly to Nova Ukraine.
Hey,
I think you might have attached us to it because I got an email from Nova Ukraine a minute ago saying that someone had made a donation on our behalf a minute ago. So that might have been you. But Enforcer, what say you?
Oh, that's really cool, actually. That's really neat. I didn't even know you could do that. But I gotta say, a huge thanks to you for the support, Bex Chitwood. And also really cool to hear that you're supporting a fundraiser, a Ukrainian fundraiser that we always support all the time on your own. And so a big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from Wrath of Cat, who put in that 20, of course, and said, get you a snack while on air and turn it into a Forcer mukbang war coverage. Stay fed and hydrated for sure. And thanks for the commitment to the news. And take one from the chat, please.
And I gotta say, we keep things professional here. We do not take most of the time food breaks or anything like that usually on air. I don't think we've ever done that, actually, come to think of it. We've done restroom breaks before here and there, but never a food break. I think it's a little bit unprofessional. That's why we like to try and keep the show really laser focused for the most part when we're on air, and usually everything we do is kind of deliberate to some degree. So I gotta say, I thank you for the support and that suggestion, but I have to wait to eat until we get off air, because both me and Matthew, I think, both agree, I know I certainly do, that eating on air kind of has a bit of an unprofessional air to it to me. It makes it a little bit too informal. But a huge thanks to you once again, and we're on the next one.
We also have some more news coming out right now, some more breaking news across the board right now. I'll start going through this one by one here. We're currently hearing that the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will convene a meeting of the Inner Security Cabinet, apparently in the next 30 minutes or so, from the looks of it. We're also hearing that there's an initial report that inside of Iran in the Khuzestan province, apparently there's been an explosion at the Karun petrochemical complex inside of Iran. But once again, we're not sure what has caused that. We're not sure if it's an Israeli attack on Iran that caused it or what that is. But we're hearing explosions break out in Khuzestan, Iran. We're also hearing as well that Hamas might have just jumped into the conflict as well. It looks like some rockets were fired across the Gaza border, apparently at Israel, like literally just right across the Gaza border from the looks of it. So Hamas might have fired that from Gazan territory, maybe, if that turns out to be the case. We're also seeing that the Houthis in Yemen say that they will issue a statement in the coming hours, and apparently they launched a single missile at Israel, so it appears to have been just one missile from the look of it that they apparently fired from the Houthis inside of Yemen. So that's the news right now, but Enforcer, what do you make of all of that?
I'd have to say that that is quite interesting. Hamas is getting involved. I thought they hardly even existed. But apparently they have one bottle rocket to spare, and they fired it at Shechem. So we'll have to see what comes out of that. But some very interesting developments coming out of the world at the moment. We'll have to keep an eye on all of them and continue to observe them with a great deal of reliability and accuracy. But it looks like all of the air raid alerts were lifted on Israel, so it doesn't look like there's any more incoming Iranian attacks to speak of right now.
There is an image coming out of Jericho. Apparently, there's some stuff happening there. It looks like one of those fragments of the missile that we saw fall into place. It looks like we do see. It almost looks identical to the other missile fragment that we saw earlier in the day. Literally, the exact same tail section of the missile sticking out of the ground right there.
Also, why in the world did the metal bend up like a cartoon?
Why something about this look kind of phony?
Something about this to me seems kind of phony baloney. Also, I thought that only trumpets worked against the city of Jericho. I didn't think it was like missiles and stuff.
Maybe so. I don't really know. I mean, trombone.
I remember it being trumpets. I think it was trumpets, not trombones. I don't think they had trombones back in the day. They had trumpets.
Yeah, who knows? Honestly, I'm not really sure, but it looks like they got a little situation there, right up there near Jericho. It looks like.
Does look like it. That's for sure. Where in the world is Jericho even, anyways? Let's see here. Jericho. Oh, Jericho, Utah. Let's take a look at that. Oh. Well, hell, we actually could drive here. I didn't know that. Now let's go look at Jericho over in Israel. So. It's in the West Bank, right near the Dead Sea. So let's see. Let's see here. Let's take a little look around. Any fields nearby that kind of look like that? I don't see him. I don't see him, so I wouldn't be able to tell y'all for sure. But it looks to be in a fairly desert-like area, so I mean, I guess the terrain would kind of line up a little bit. But anyways, with that, I hope we've addressed that situation well, and we're on to the next one.
And moving into our next ones here, we have a super chat on our next one from none other than Michael Barron, who put in a 20. And thank you, Michael, for that support. He did not leave a comment, but we do appreciate that support that keeps the channel running. We also have a 20 from Mr. Bobby Brady, who said, I love the channel and the honesty.
And we thank you so much for loving the channel and the honesty and supporting it so that way we can make this thing possible and keep it running day in and day out. So humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a super chat from Mr. Jay Bagwell. And thank you very much, Jay, for that $20 support as well. We do appreciate that very much, of course. And he said, thanks for being here when it counts, and great job.
We try our best. We really do, Jay, and we try to be here when it counts all the time. But there's too many times that accountant these days. They need to cut those down a little. I'm hoping that nothing happens tomorrow, but that is a foregone conclusion, at least in my mind, that things are going to be happening tomorrow, and I might as well just go ahead and kind of like sign it away in my head that I'm doing absolutely nothing tomorrow because I will not have free time. It's a damn shame. I wanted to go, folks, to the movies again tomorrow. I thought that'd be kind of fun, but
you'll be all right.
Damn, bro, you just fried my ears, bro. Like that came through in the most heinous way, man. Like let me replay that. I'm doing absolutely nothing tomorrow because I will not have free time. It's a damn shame. I wanted to go, folks, to the movies again tomorrow. I thought that'd be kind of fun, but
you'll be all right.
Man, it didn't come through the right way right there, but it literally like fried my ears. It was like making my eardrums bleed. It went man. I was like, I was like, what the hell was that? But anyways, a big thanks to you once again for support, Jay, and we're gonna be working. We're gonna be working tomorrow, probably putting in them hours. And so with that, we're on the next one.
And our next super chat goes to none other than Chuck in Tennessee. And thank you very much to Chuck in Tennessee for that $10 support. He said, I'm back already, I see.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't stay away. We couldn't stay away. I tell you, we've been on air today for a total of, let's see here, 4.5, 6, about 8 hours at this. Well, I don't know. The last show was like 4.5 hours long, I think. And this one's 2.5 right now, so 4.5, 5.5. No, 7 hours, actually. We've been on air for 7 hours today. I got the math wrong. It's simple math, and I still got it wrong. But I got to say, a big thanks to you for support, and help this channel keep running. We couldn't stay away. And with that, we're on the next one.
We've also seen that apparently, let's see here, looking at some news here possibly. Let me double check this. So it appears to be the stuff that was already ongoing that we're hearing about once again. But moving into our next super chat in the meantime, though, we have a 10 from Ian Mitson, and thank you, Ian, for the 10. He said, "What is the majority of people living in Crimea, Russia, or Ukraine, and how are they going to feel in the long run about the food and fuel shortage caused by Ukraine?" And thanks for the extra work, guys.
Most of them are Russian. At least they kind of consider themselves to be Russian, or they're Russian speaking only. Some of them are Ukrainian, but generally they're just going like. Some of them are going. It's going to be kind of a mixed bag. Some of them will look at it as the Ukrainians are bastards. Some of them will look at it as the Ukrainians are having to do what they need to be able to try and win the war. But it really depends on their ethnic background in the region, and most of them would be looking at the Ukrainians as bastards no matter what. So that's kind of how I would assume it's going to be in Crimea. So I hope that does address that well, and a big thanks to you for the support. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, by the way, we have apparently gotten some new alerts. It looks like Jerusalem is once again under attack, it looks like. I'm trying to get a gist of where these are being launched from right now. This is a pretty sustained attack right now that Iran's conducting. I will say that. So I'm not getting the information about... Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's see here. So I got a video here coming out that apparently shows one of these missiles being launched right now. Take a look at that video right there and show the people that.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's see that first.
There it is.
Apparently, they're about to make their way and actually get toward the Israeli airspace in a minute. So that's the initial launch phase of it right there. Also, generally, we have confirmed that someone has struck inside of Iran. We're not sure who's done it, but the Karun Petrochemical Complex. Could you geolocate that inside of Iran real quick? It's in the Khuzestan province, and see where that's at. Apparently, it was hit by some hostile force outside of Iran. We're not sure if it was the U.S. or Israel that did it, but somebody has hit it. It's apparently on fire and exploded from the looks of it. So not sure why that location was chosen specifically, but apparently it's the Karun Petrochemical Complex.
How do you spell that town?
It's Karun.
Oh, I thought you were saying Perun, like Perun. Let's
Not
see.
a YouTuber.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, I think that's a YouTube. But let's see here. I'm trying to find it here. Let's see, here's the Karun River. So it might be a chemical plant along this river, because I'm not seeing any towns that are called Karun. It might be in Avaj near the Karun River. That's probably where it would be, because usually chemical plants like that are somewhere in that area, like, sort of, kind of. So, I can't get you an exact geolocation on that, but it's probably around this river somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure who did it either, because, like I said, we don't have any information about who conducted this attack or anything. So, just out of the blue, just a petrochemical complex has exploded inside of Iran, and it appears to be eyewitnesses on the ground are convinced that it was struck from the air. So, I'm not really sure how to explain that. We're waiting on more details about that possible attack right there. In the meantime, though, we are watching that apparently the missiles are making their way even closer toward Israeli airspace right now. Apparently, I am seeing the alerts in Jerusalem have expanded a little bit, not a whole bunch. But let me double check here and see what our new information is saying about this. Let's see here. So we're also hearing of a huge explosion in Mashahar in the Khuzestan province of Iran too. That's also generally in the same location as that petrochemical complex. So something's going down in that area of Iran right now. Somebody's attacking it. It could be the United States, maybe.
Sounds like someone's breaking in. Let me see here. Let me see if I can do some geolocations on this in Mashahar. Let me see if I can find that Mashahar in the Khuzestan province. So this is down here. So this is near to a port. And it appears, is this the chemical plant? Mashallah, inshallah? Huh?
Also, Fars News. Fars News has just confirmed that airstrikes have been conducted on the Karun Petrochemical Complex. Apparently, that's where the explosions are being heard right now. Some people are getting mixed up and they're calling it Mashahar, and some people are calling it just the Khuzestan province. But there is a confirmed airstrike there as of right now. But nobody knows who did it. Not even the Iranians know who did it. It's like the ghost of Iran has showed up and just started hitting the place. So that's quite interesting. I'm not sure if that's the U.S. or who.
That's interesting. And yeah, that does appear to be the case at the moment. Let's see here. Is the Karun River nearby to this place? Let's see here. Trying to find that river and follow it. So no, this river goes towards the Tigris River over here, so that's not it. So I'm guessing that it's over here in Mashahar. It's this facility right here, maybe.
Yeah, I think it could be that one possibly. Kind of an interesting choice to hit that. Not really sure why they really honed in on that spot. That's sort of a random spot to hit. But yeah, apparently it's an explosion there. A lot of explosions, airstrikes being reported by the Iranians. So well, it's up to debate who the hell that is. But also, by the way, it sounds like that facility might have been destroyed to a large degree. They're saying the Fars news agency is calling it partial damage, but other sources are saying it could be total damage from the looks of it. So apparently, some pretty devastating airstrikes have taken place there from the looks of it. I'm waiting to get images from the ground on that. We're also hearing of more Iranian ballistic missile launches. They've just been fired right now towards central Israel as of this moment. They've just fired new missiles as of about a minute or two ago. I'm seeing people like Mike Huckabee reporting and posting pictures of apparently interceptions all over the place right now. So it's on full blast. The Iranians are launching nonstop missiles at Israel right now, and they're still doing it.
Now let's see here. Do we have any new alerts that's come out? It looks to be all around Jerusalem still. So that's what we have at the moment, at least as far as ongoing alerts. We'll probably see some new ones showing up here soon, especially since the launches are continuing. But a very interesting development here. There does appear to be reciprocal strikes against Iran at the moment at Mashahar, near to their coastline. And we're also hearing of continued missile barrages against Israel. So hopefully we'll be able to get some more information live on air right now about this sort of a development. And what do we have?
Well, nothing right this second. I'm still looking for more news.
Oh, and so with that, let's get on into a couple of questions while we're hoping to find some more news.
All right, so moving into our next super chat while we're scanning for more breaking news. Our next one here is going to go to Smarzig, who put in a 10. And thank you, Smarzig, as well, for that $10 support. And Smarzig said, I just got back from the movies to see if you guys are on again. And P.S., don't watch the new scary movie. It's very vulgar. And I walked out after 10 minutes.
Thank you for the support, Smarzy. And generally, I wasn't going to go watch the scary movie. I've heard some people say it was bad, and I've heard some people say it was okay. I haven't heard anyone say it was good, though. Like, everyone's like, it's all right. Like, that's the best reaction I've heard to it. Probably the best sort of a statement I've heard about it is some parts of it were kind of funny, but most of it was just meh, and it wasn't really that good at all. And generally I would believe it because I saw all the ads for it, and I was like, it doesn't look that good. But I have heard rave reviews about The Backrooms, which I did watch, which was a very good movie, and also that movie that came out called Obsession, which I really want to go watch it. It's just that was going to be tomorrow, and I don't think I'm going to be able to have the time to watch a movie. But beyond that, I do thank you for support and sharing that with us. And with that, we're on the next one.
And moving into our next one, this one goes to Daniel Pigan, who puts in a 10. And thank you, Daniel. He said, I know you have all been very busy with the news in the Iran-Israeli conflict, but have you seen all the flooding in Alabama today? I know you both come from Alabama.
I haven't. Have you, Matthew?
I haven't seen that. I've heard they're trying to build a data center near our old hometown in Birmingham that everybody's up in roar about. So they're trying to build data centers everywhere now, including where we used to live.
Let's see here. Flooding in Alabama. Oh, it's near the Tennessee river area. It's near Huntsville and stuff. So I haven't heard about that myself, but that's very interesting because the pictures are coming out and they look pretty gnarly. That Alabama red clay dirt stuff, man. The water's like that color in these pictures, everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh man, that I hate that red dirt clay stuff. It's so weird. The texture of it even is just really weird. And in that color will stain anything it touches, anything. It's pretty interesting kind of soil content, kind of clay-like. But anyways, big thanks to your support and helping this channel to keep it running. We didn't really live up in the Huntsville area. We kind of go up there from time to time, but the whole time we were in Alabama, we lived either in Montgomery, Wetumpka, or Birmingham. Those were the places that we lived. But a huge thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a $10 support from Bradley Barrows, and thank you, Bradley, as well. He said, thanks, y'all, and if y'all ever make it to Minnesota, hit me up for coffee.
And thank you so much for the support. And maybe one day we will travel through the state of Minnesota and take a little look around. And so big thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 10 from Singleton, who said, 0 objectives achieved. Worse situation than at the start. And now we are negotiating with the terrorist regime in the hunt of a deal. I think that's embarrassing.
I wouldn't disagree with you at all. I think it's quite embarrassing myself, actually. So big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on the next one.
Next one is a 10 from Willow, and thank you, Willow, as well. They said, wish it could be more, but thanks for all the hard work, and I had to get you each a chicken, and you're appreciated. And since Netanyahu is almost off his rocker, if Iran keeps it up, do you think he'll go nuclear?
I don't think he'll go nuclear, but they're definitely going to be swinging for the blinders here for a little bit between the two of them. And I have a feeling the U.S. is probably going to be forced to get involved at some point because we're going to end up getting attacked, and there's probably going to be casualties as a result. So a big thanks to you for the support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
In the meantime, hold on for just a second here. I got to grab one more thing out of the live chat here. Let's see here. Stall for just a second.
And so we are stalling at the moment, folks, and hopefully waiting to see something interesting coming out here in the near future. I actually just saw Mr. Wire say Solovyov said he's an honorable citizen of Huntsville, Alabama. He is not. Absolutely not. Alabama does not accept Solovyov. Solovyov can stay in that hellhole of a country he calls his home. Jeez. But what do we have?
In the meantime, though, I'm getting some more information here that there might be something happening in Jordan. I'm hearing that from Scott in the live chat here. I'm trying to double check that. Not really seeing anything about it. I'll have to see. I'm not seeing anything about Jordan right now. Let's see here. Jordan. Let's see what we got going on here in Jordan. We got anything happening in Jordan right now? Let's see here. So we are hearing some initial reports of a possible interception of an Iranian ballistic missile over Jordan's capital of Amman. That could just be the Jordanian Air Force playing it safe by hitting those early. That could be what they're up to with that. No indication that they've been attacked as of yet, though. So it appears to be just air interception operations from the looks of it.
And so it does appear that it's not that large of a situation, but still an interesting one to hear of and get an update on. And so with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a super chat from Chuck in Tennessee once again, who put in a 10. And he said, as a 14-year Army veteran, I'm disappointed in how the U.S. is reacting. And P.S., I sent a letter to the president and informed him that I could do a better job than what he has working for him in LSA.
And a big thanks to your support, and I would have to say it is quite disappointing for sure how things have been going so far. I would expect much better, considering that the United States is one of the premier countries in the world and is definitely the defining nation of the modern age. I would expect a lot better from our leadership, for sure. So huge thanks to you for your support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 10 from Raphael Philippe, and thank you, Raphael. He said, the U.S. have the power to end this nonsense in 2 to 3 days. What's holding them? Opinions?
I don't even know. We have no clue. Maybe the elections, maybe it's just fear of what the Iranians might have as far as drone forces. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense at all, though. Whatever the answer is, it's completely senseless. But I actually have no clue. So big thanks to your support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have an 8 from Laser, and thank you, Laser, for the 8. And he said $5 plus overtime.
Hey, and thank you so much for supporting our overtime. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have here a 6 from Alan, and he said, don't mess with the Israelis.
Oh, well, I would say generally, most countries aren't to be messed with, really. It's best just to leave most of them alone and trying to get along with them, unless they're a mortal enemy of the United States, like China or Iran or Russia or North Korea, countries like those. But a big thanks to you for the support, and we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from I Am The Real, who said, can we ask the IDF to wait until June is over before they get rid of Mojtaba? He may not be our best representation, but he's still something.
Oh, I don't think they'll be getting rid of Mojtaba. I think everybody kind of learned from the whole Ali Khamenei deal that taking out the guy at the top doesn't really mean much anything. It took us getting into a whole war for people to figure out that the Hollywood movie style of ending a government doesn't actually work. Taking out the guy at the top, like they show in the Hollywood movies, actually doesn't end anything, which is crazy. Who would have ever thought? I mean, it's not like, thousands of years of history showed that one, but apparently for us, up in the U.S. government, up at the top, they had to learn the hard way. But a big thanks to your support. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also have a 5 from Plexus Gaming, who said, thanks for the earlier stream, and I've enjoyed your show since about 2 weeks after you covered the Ukraine war, and sorry I can't help more.
And, it's quite all right, Plexus Gaming. You're an old Garnet Channel legend. We're happy to have you here, spending your time. That's all we ask is folks spend their time here, and many of people do. Tens of thousands of hours, actually millions a month. Just this past 28 days, y'all have spent 2.1 million hours watching Enforcer content. If you took that and you divided that down, folks, into 24-hour days, just over the past 28 days, mind you, that's the amount of time that y'all spent, 2.1 million hours of watch time. And if we divided that by 24 hours in a day, and then we divided that by 365 days in a year, just over the past 28 days, all the people who watch the Enforcer channel cumulatively have watched about 239 years and 8 months of the Enforcer channel. And I'd have to say that that's a pretty decent amount of spending in its own, the time that y'all spend here, and we greatly appreciate that. And so huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 10 from Dan Gross, and Dan said, "What a day of work you guys are putting in, and thank you for the service."
And thank you so much for enjoying our work, and we're more than happy to do it. It's a little tiresome, but we're always happy to do it. So big thanks to you so much once again, and we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Robert Newton, and he said, "Thank y'all for going live again. Y'all rock, and we appreciate the dedication. And thanks to the mods, too, and LSA. And I am the only mod. I'm the only one here, actually, that mods in the live chat. I'm also co-hosting. I'm also doing the super chats. I'm also doing the polls. I'm also responding to people. It's a lot. It's a lot. But Enforcer, what say you?"
And I gotta say, I thank you for enjoying the moderators. Matthew is the primary moderator. I do a little bit on the side. Like, I don't do a whole lot of it, but every once in a while I'll see something like, and I'll get rid of it. But a huge thanks to you so much once again. But it's just the two of us. Like that Billy Withers song. It's literally just the two of us that run the show. There's no one else. No mirrors, no smoke and mirror shows, no dog and pony tricks. Just the two of us. So a big thanks to you once again. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from DL Observer. He said, "I have questions." And we all have questions, but we have no answers for a lot of that stuff. Yeah, probably because it doesn't make any sense. But Enforcer, what say you?
I have many questions as well. Why in the world is it so hard to wake up in the morning nowadays? Why is it so hard? Why in the world does the sun rise from the east and set in the west? Why in the world is it that the sky is blue? Why in the world is it that sometimes when I wander around in public, some people just aren't happy? What is up with these things? Many, many deep questions to ask. And also on top of that, another question I gotta ask is, what in the world is the little elf inside the fridge that turns the light on every time you open the door? And where in the world does the demon go when you open your eyes when you're taking a shower? Those are questions that really matter to me, and I have a lot of those. But a big thanks to you for support and helping the channel to keep them running. And we actually have some breaking news coming out right now. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so Israel has taken responsibility for the attack on the Iranian petrochemical facility inside of Tehran. They've taken responsibility for it, so it was apparently the Israelis that hit it. It's kind of a weird thing, though, is they did it very limited. They just simply hit this one spot right here, and that was the end of it. So I have no idea what's up with that, why it was so important just to sneak in, just to hit that. Sort of something about this seems a little bit off. For some reason, but the Iranians are confirming it was hit. They're not saying how bad the damage was. They're simply saying partially destroyed, which, that's sort of vague. But the Israelis are apparently saying that they did a number on it from the looks of it.
Interesting. I don't know why they would just hit that in particular. It seems like one of the lowest priority targets to hit, but I guess the Israelis have their enigmatic reasons for it. So we'll eventually maybe find that out. Who knows? But with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Frosty Rotor X. He said, "Hallo aus Deutschland von Karlsruhe."
Oh, and a big shout out to Karlsruhe, which is up there on the coast, I believe. Am I right on that? I don't know. Let me type that in. Let's see. That's why I need to doubt myself from time to time, folks. It's not on the coast. It's near Alsace-Lorraine. Near Strasbourg. This is nowhere close to the coast. This is the complete opposite. But I gotta say, a big shout out to you down there. Neat city, by the way. Really cool place down there near France. And I gotta say, a big thanks to you for the support all the way from Dutchland. And all the way from Germany, actually. And a big hello to you out there, Frosty Rhoda. So a big thanks to you once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Live Animal, who said the U.S. has already made a deal behind closed doors, and the U.S. just wants to drag things out because it wants a better one, and Iran ultimately wins.
I don't know about that. I mean, if we play our cards right, we come out on top. It's just a matter of playing them right. And whether the current people can do that or not, we're not really sure. But a big thanks to you for support. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Travis Murray, who put in a 10. He said, I appreciate you guys.
And thank you so much for the support, Travis, and we appreciate you. And we appreciate your support to help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, apparently, some hacking group inside of Iran is apparently putting out statements. It looks like, and it looks like Fars News is reposting and talking about it for the moment. It's that Handala group, the Handala people, the ones that'll handle you, they say. But apparently, they're putting out some ominous statements right now. They're saying that they say to every country that spreads the red carpet for terrorists. That's very ironic to say something like that coming out of Iran, isn't it? Your turn will come too, they say. No land is too far, no server is too secure, and no network is beyond our reach. Just wait and watch. Perhaps a shadow is already breathing within your systems and the countdown has begun, which is possible, by the way. Some of these malwares lay dormant for a while. China does that to all kinds of stuff, electrical infrastructure and everything. But they say you'll pay the price for your betrayal, not just in your bases, but at the heart of your daily economy and your security. So generally, I wouldn't write that off completely. Handala does have some, pretty competent hackers at their disposal to a large degree. So I wouldn't write that off, but we don't know how much of that is bluff and how much of that is truth. So we'll have to wait and find out. But they have hacked some other people's pretty high-profile accounts before. So we'll have to see what that turns into.
And yeah, we'll definitely have to see. Interesting, though. They handling shit, I suppose. But with that, we're on the next one.
We also have here a 5 from Marco Rodriguez and Mark Rodriguez, and he said, "Do you think that the president gave Bibi the Aladdin news or the Aladdin news?"
Do you want the Aladdin news or the Aladdin news? I want the Aladdin news. You are HIV Aladdin. Like, man, honestly, I guess I think they gave him the Aladdin news. That's what I think. But a big thanks to your support, and we're on the next one.
We also have a one here from none other than Squeegee, who put in a 5. They said, "Can they make it to Iran without U.S. refueling?"
No. As far as U.S. transports, they can't make it without refueling. You were talking about Israeli Air Force operations in the Middle East. They can easily make it to Iran and back without refueling, really. So big thanks to your support. I hope that is addressed out well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Otani Sanji, who put in a 5 and said, indecisive leader breeds stagnation, worsened by advisors whose shortcomings amplify rather than solve problems and hinder action. But great stream in LSA.
I would agree. And a big thanks to your support, and long live the Lee Spring Army. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Live Animal, and they said, you don't have the cards. And look where Ukraine is today. Everyone has cards.
I gotta say, many of the people who used to not have cards are getting cards. Very interesting. We need to fix that. And a big thanks to you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Man, he's struggling, man. He's struggling over there. I heard him. He said,
man, I was about to hiccup live on air, man. Jeez.
But our next one goes to High Plains, who puts in a 10. And thank you, High Plains, for that $10 support. And we do appreciate it very much. We also have a 5 from Hoodoo, who said, logically, Karg Island should be occupied. If the Iranians want to throw stuff at their own oil facilities, we could handle that. But could they?
Maybe that's a consideration, but we have to deal with the Hormuz first before we get to Karg second. And a big thanks to your support and help this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Dan Brooks. He said, the news I want to hear tonight is 600,000, and long live the Lee Spring Army.
And long live the Lee Spring Army indeed. And right now we are at 599,620 subscribers. We're getting there. We're getting close. At any moment now, on any day, we might hit that incredible 600,000 number. Imagine that. 600,000 people watching this channel. Could y'all have ever thought that that would have been possible like 4 years ago? I didn't think it was possible 4 years ago. I thought that at the best we'd get to pay maybe 300, maybe 350, and we kind of level out. I never thought that we'd make it to 600,000. Pretty crazy. And I hear Maddie like wheezing in the microphone over there. You good, cuh?
I'm not wheezing.
Man, I heard something coming out of your microphone. Like it was like breathing or something. Like you can hear it like on the stream. Listen. 600,000 number. Imagine that. 600,000 people watching this channel. Could y'all have ever thought that that would have been possible like 4 years ago? I didn't think it was possible 4 years ago. I thought that at the best we'd get to pay maybe 300, maybe 350, and we kind of level out. I never thought that we'd make it to 600,000. Pretty crazy. And I hear Maddie like wheezing in the mic. Dang,
I didn't hear a thing.
You couldn't really hear it at all, like at least through that. Like I guess like
man, you're making stuff up. I wasn't wheezing at all. I was just sitting over here like doing my chat.
Man, honestly, man, I heard you wheezing in my headset. Like, when like, it was like a breathing noise. I was like, what in the world is he doing over there? I was like, what the hell? But anyway, so that we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Garrison Burrell. Thank you, Garrison, for the 5. He said, a book of fiction, we'll see. But unfortunately, you can only try to get people to open their eyes, and y'all don't believe, so you can live your filthy lives. The hell are you talking about? Filthy lives? What the hell's wrong with you?
The hell? I'm pretty clean, by the way. I shower with Irish Spring,
Oh,
you
filthy
bastard.
lives. What is this dude wilding out?
Man, talking about our filthy lives. Shit, I'm clean as hell. I shower every day. I brush my teeth. I comb my hair. I wear deodorant. I'm as fresh as it can be. Shit, man, you don't even know what the hell you're talking. You crazy shit. But with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Shell Angel. And thank you, Shell Angel, for that support, by the way. They said, hello, Enforcer Matt and LSA family. And Matt and Enforcer, can you please check in on my family serving on the George W. Bush? Any word on the boys?
I believe that CENTCOM actually put out a post showing them at work out at sea. Let me go get that here real quick from CENTCOM. Hey, here's the pictures right here. These are actually pictures from the George H.W. Bush, apparently last night or the night before, conducting some nighttime carrier operations. They're out in the Arabian Sea right now, kind of close to the USS Abraham Lincoln, just conducting blockade interdiction operations right now. So nothing really crazy, and they're generally in pretty good condition. So I hope that does address that well and answer your question. And actually, that was very convenient that you asked today, because we actually have pictures from the George H.W. Bush. So a big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on the next one.
So that dude said our filthy lives. I can't get over that. I see people talking about that in the chat, talking about that dude's crazy as hell. Like, honestly, like the balls on that dude to come here talking about you filthy lives. Oh, dude's crazy out of his mind. But
man,
anyways,
hey, you know what's even crazier, man, is that guy's probably like the filthiest MF that ever lived, bro. He's like, man, like he's probably got like weeks of caked up dirt on his ass, man, dirty ass, man. Like speaking from experience,
I could live without hearing that.
Well, man, I mean, honestly, man, that's like the mental image I got. Like that shit sounded like some like nut talking, like if you saw them in real life, like their pupils are dilated to like pins, like pinheads, basically, like something like that. But anyways, we're on the next one.
And our next one here goes to none other than Cottizable. And thank you very much, Cottizable, for the $200 support, by the way. Absolutely massive support. We do appreciate that. That's a very large support right there. Might be the biggest one of the night, actually. But he said, a longtime lurker and Patreon supporter. And how do I check this Discord out, though? And some other news is that the Korean stock market has been triggering short circuits as it collapses in real time. And also, if you want to join the Discord, we don't run the Discord, by the way. It's run by the fans, the channel that have generally run it for a long time. If Miss Disa is in the live chat, which I think Miss Disa is in the live chat tonight, you can tag at Miss Disa, and you can ask her to join it, because she's like the gateway in the chat for the Discord server right there. But you're also right, by the way. The Korean stock market fell so badly earlier today, the South Korean stock market. Obviously, there's no North Korean market, or at least if there is, it's not worth monitoring whatsoever. But they did trigger some circuit breakers earlier, because it fell by like 8 or 9% or something. Not sure why, but Enforcer, what say you?
They've been kind of free falling lately for many reasons. So I'd have to say it's a pretty crazy sort of a thing. Like it's nuts to listen to it and watch it unfold in real time. In South Korea, they've been doing that for a minute too. Like really ever since the war started a while ago. But yeah, like the Discord server is a fan server that we talk about. We don't run a Discord server ourselves, and I hate to say, folks, I'm dedicated to never running one again because of our experiences with the first two that we ever made and had to delete. But beyond that, though, there is a fan server that you can join, and it's really good, really high quality stuff. And so big thanks to you for that unbelievably incredible support and helping this channel to keep running, and I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Simple Minded, who put in a 10 and said, nice work, guys.
And thank you so much, Simple Minded. It's always nice to know that we have simple-minded people like you here watching. It's a high honor. And so a huge thanks to you once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And also, that's a joke, by the way. Please don't take that personally. I'm just making a joke on your name. But with that, we're on the next one.
And this one goes to Smoke Buddy, who said, what are the legal boundaries for war powers, and do you think these boundaries could be the reason why the U.S. isn't getting involved?
Matthew, please take care of this one, because it's a very complicated one, and I think you have a better handle of it.
So I'm going to try something new here. I could go through the entire explanation, but let me see if I can simplify it down because they say that if you truly understand the topic well, then you should be able to boil it down to a simplistic response. If you have to say it in too many words, that means you really don't truly understand it. So let me see if I can give this a go right here or make a fool of myself, one or the other. So the legal boundaries are this. Technically, the president can deploy troops into a wartime environment or an environment of conflict as long as he notifies Congress. He can keep them there for up to 60 days, and then at that point, he must go to Congress to get a declaration of war, or he'll have a 30-day period to get those troops out of the conflict zone and back into safety. Right now, the president did the first part, but he's now keeping the troops there beyond the 60 days, and Congress is trying to pass a war powers resolution right now. And actually, they did pass it, or they passed the resolution. It's going back to the Senate, and it's going to go back to the president's desk if the Senate will pass it. So that's the boundary right now. So technically, they're trying to rein him in, but they're not going to get anywhere.
And so I hope that does address that the best we can. And a big thanks to your support. And we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Shannon Newman, who said misinformation and disinformation with propaganda is the way of the CCP.
That's true, Shannon Newman. That's non-war military activities. You got it down. Psychological operations. And a big thanks to you once again. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from DL Observer, who said, never trust donations from I'm XX year vet. I'm just saying.
I mean, well, they're donating, so I mean, like we received the money. So I thank you for the support. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 from Chuck in Tennessee. He said, sorry, DL, I stand every time the anthem is played on here.
And thank you so much for the support, Chuck in Tennessee, and I like to hear that you're patriotic like that. That's good. And so a big thanks to you for support. I hope that it's addressed that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have here possibly some news. Oh, whoa. We got some, we have definitely some news right now. Hold on a second. We have video from the petrochemical complex. I can't believe this. We actually have the video from it. I was not expecting to get that. Let's take a look at this right now, by the way. And also, we're getting an Israeli statement on it. I'm surprised by this. We actually have a visual from the ground.
There it is. Holy moly. Oh, Briaga.
So it definitely was hit for sure.
It definitely was. Do we have where's the Israeli statement for this? Here we are. Well, let's take a look at it and read it.
Read it.
I thought you were going to read it. But the IDF spokesperson said, the Air Force, guided by military intelligence, recently attacked several targets in the petrochemical complex in Mashahar in southwestern Iran. More details to follow. So this is a confirmed Israeli attack. Apparently a response to the Iranian attack on northern Israel at the moment. So very interesting here that their response is blowing up a petrochemical plant because it doesn't really have any military impact, at least at the moment.
Yeah, that is interesting right there. I'm just surprised we got a video at all out of that situation right there. So, I mean, we'll have to keep an eye on that, but I was shocked to see it. But moving on from this, though, in the meantime, we're going to move on to our next super chat. This one goes to Truck and Chef, who puts in a 5. He said, here's the coordinates to that chemical plant. It's huge. It's like 3 different areas.
Hey, Mandy, can you post that in the live chat really quickly? Because I can't get that at the moment. Hold up. Let me see here. Let me see if I put that in Google. If I put that in Google, I can actually copy and paste it from up here. I just realized. So if I put that in the Google, what do I get? Oh, it's over here. We got the wrong one. This was the one we were pointing out earlier. It's over here. Kind of close to Mashahar, but yeah, that actually does line up. And you can see the you can actually see the entire complex right here. You can even see these weird things that kind of look like orbs right there that were in the video. So yeah, that actually does line up. You're actually down on the nail, Truck and Chef, and a humongous thanks to you for the support and sharing that with us. That's actually really nice to know that we were kind of close, but getting the right location here at this moment right now. This is at the Imam Khomeini Port Special Economic Zone. But a huge thanks to you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from David Thomas. He said, just put the petrochemical plant to Google Earth. And we already found it thanks to Truck and Shelf, but thank you, David, for the support. We also have a 5 from Game Theory. He said, are you going to go see that new He-Man movie?
I didn't really know a lot about He-Man growing up. Like, I've heard about it a little bit here and there, and like the Skeletor guy and everything, but I'm not personally going to watch it because I just don't really know enough about it to really know enough background to find it enjoyable, I suppose. But a big thanks to you for your support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Kathy, who put in a $10 support, and we appreciate you very much, Kathy, for that support. We also have a 10 from Brad Runyon, and thank you very much, Brad, as well. He said, I like both Rodney Dangerfield and Borat, but can we hear more Borat? It's long live the LSA and very nice.
I watched the Middle East, and I go, very nice. I don't really know. Like, that one's kind of hard to do on the spot. Because usually when, like, I'm doing it, like, I've kind of gotten into the mindset for it. Like, just absolute, like, silliness. But I'm not in the silly mindset right now, unfortunately. But I do thank you incredibly for the support, Brad Runyon, and helping this channel to keep it running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to say, long live the Lee Spring Army. And the Lee Spring Army will never truly die. And with that, we're on the next one.
We've also got a little bit here, a little bit from Jake, who put in a 5. He said, I have the cards, a full house of lies. And I don't know about this part right here. I don't know about this last part, though. I don't know if YouTube going to like that. But Enforcer, what say you?
Well, I thank you for the support, Jake. And with that, we're on the next one.
And this one goes to Foster, who puts in a 4 and said, search Grupa Monson U-boats and type IXC range.
Let me see here. Let me pull up this boat, because I think this is the one. Yeah, this is about to be the one. Yeah, so these U-boats don't have a long range. Like, let me go and get the range here. So it's at surfaced, mind you, 15,000 miles. If it's submerged, however, its range is then going to be greatly decreased. So, you know, just to make that a little bit clear, you can't make it like the whole thing of, oh, the Nazis made it in Antarctica. They didn't make it in Antarctica because if they tried, they would have had to be surfaced to get there, and they're going to be captured. Even at that, they have to surface every once in a while to recharge the batteries, and they have to fully resurface, and then they'd be captured then. So, or they'd be destroyed. So there is no U-boat that made it to Antarctica at the end of World War II for the Nazis to escape there. And also, if they did escape to Antarctica, where in the world did they get food? Because there is no way to grow food in Antarctica, so they starve to death once they arrive. If there's some sort of an underground base there, clearly that would be creating some sort of significant problems with melting the ice nearby, and it would become quite visible that they're there. And if they were there, why in the world would the Allies hide that? They would clearly want to destroy the remainder of them. And if the Nazis had super technology that could defeat everybody in a whim, why wouldn't they defeat everybody in a whim? Like, the whole thing about the Nazis escaping to Antarctica is like just a pipe dream. I don't even entertain the concept. It's an absolute pipe dream, because they wouldn't be able to survive down there. And if they had weapons that were so powerful that they fled to Antarctica and we can't touch them because they destroy us all, why the hell didn't they use that in the actual war to destroy us all and win? You know, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But big thanks to you for the support and help this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, oil's up to almost $95 a barrel right now. It's up
Ooh.
over 4%. So it looks like it's having a little bit of a jump, to say the least, right now. So we'll have to keep an eye on that right there, you know, the oil. But the next one here goes to Irish Ed here, but in a 2. He said, Irish Ed here. He said, do you get paid overtime, LSA?
And no, we don't get paid overtime. We just get paid whatever folks support us with. So big thanks to your support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a 20 from none other than Chef Danny B, the official chef of the LSA. And he said, good evening, Enforcers. Chef Danny here, and thanks for all the hard work doing 2 long streams in one day. And this stream, I've been trying to listen, but my projector outside and was watching Space Jam with the kiddos and LT, LSA.
Well, that actually sounds really fun. Like, that actually sounds like a really enjoyable way to spend the evening on the Sunday here. And I gotta say, it's a good thing to know that you've still been trying to watch. We thank you so much. And it has been one hell of a day today. We had a 4.5-hour stream, and now I think we're probably going to be rounding out here on most likely a 3.5-hour stream, because I'm not wanting to push this one too badly, folks. We're guaranteed working tomorrow, and it's probably going to be all day again. So I want to make sure to try and pace this a little bit, so that way we can make sure to have some energy for tomorrow, and then the whole 6 days to come after Monday. So big thanks to you so much for the support, and help this channel to keep running. And thank you so much for enjoying the show tonight, Chef Danny B. And with that, we're on to the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Michael Barron, who just put in a $50 support. And thank you very much, Michael, for that support. You're in a super sticker of the YouTube Creature Game Controller kicking ass. But Enforcer, what say you?
And a big shout out to Michael Barrow for supporting this channel and helping to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep it running. And so a big thanks to you so much once again. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
And also, to follow up on Michael Barron's super chat, Truck and Chef also threw in a 50 as well. And thank you very much, Truck and Chef, for the support yet again. I think that's the second one. He said, by the way, you guys rock, and here's for the overtime pay. And long live the Lee Spring Army, and hint, hint, subscriber to get to 600K.
And a big thanks to you for support, Truckin' Chef. And thank you for the kind words and the overtime pay. We're greatly appreciative of it. We tried to unionize, but there was nobody to unionize against. I feel like the overtime pay situation is rough around here. But a big thanks to you for support. And hopefully we'll hit 600,000 subscribers here really soon, because it is right around the corner at this point. We're about 370 away. And I have a feeling that we're going to be hitting it probably tomorrow, I feel like, at this point. But a humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a $5 support from Lori, and thank you, Lori, for that $5 support. We also have a 2 from Austin, who said, "I'm glad that Israel did not listen to the U.S."
Honestly, I'm glad as well, because that was an absolutely stupid demand, and it would have looked absolutely pathetic if they had actually listened to that. But a big thanks to you once again, and we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Game Theory, who said, "In Battlefield 1942, the game, they had armored trains that looked like battleships. Was that true in the war?"
To a degree, kind of, but armored trains weren't really that big of a thing. It was generally like for patrols and stuff. Let me see if I can go pull up a World War II armored train. I think the Soviets had a couple, but generally most people didn't do them a whole load. So let's see here. Yeah, here's actually a Soviet armored train right here. That's one of them. And also I think the Germans had, yeah, here's a German one right here. But as far as like, were they really used or super effective? Not really. They're really more so for anti-air patrol, to an extent, and also some anti-partisan support as well, because they just roll these things around unannounced, and if there's partisans near to the tracks, they light them up, and if there's any air threats that are trying to attack trains on these routes, they also try and light those up as well with anti-air defense. So yeah, they did actually exist, but they had a very niche sort of a role. So big thanks to you for support. I hope that does address that well, and with that, we're on the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Michael Barron yet again. He put in a 20 this time right here.
Hey!
Big shout out to you, Michael. I think that's just a second or third support right there. We do appreciate it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And a big shout out to Michael Barron for that incredible support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I got to say that we're massively appreciative of you and your support. And so a huge thanks to you once again. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 2 from DJ Jordan, who said, "Karma is great."
I'd have to say, I suppose so. And a big thanks to you once again. And we're on the next one.
We also have a 2 from Scottish, who said, "Enforcer Matt, Iran has nukes. Thoughts?" And
No.
I don't think they have it. I don't think they do. Iran's one of these countries, if they had a nuke, they'd probably be threatening to use it right now, and they probably don't have it. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say no. They also haven't tested one either to prove they have a working one. And so that's kind of the main thing. They have to test one eventually if they have it, and they haven't, and that means they don't have one. So a big thanks to you for support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, a big shout out to 2 Days Gone, as well as Tuxedo and Plazoth for each putting in a 2, and we do appreciate that very much. We also have a 2 from Garrison Burrell, who said the Bible speaks on everyone turning against Israel.
Well, I thank you for the support, but we generally don't get into religion here, and people can say, people can have their own beliefs one way or another about this is what my religion says and prophesizes about, but here on the channel we remove religion entirely from the equation and just talk about it in a more pragmatic sense that deals with what we're watching and what's happening more so than what religion says of any type about what's going on and what's going to be happening. So big thanks to you for the support, and with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 20 from Ella MC Wheels NAFO, and thank you very much, Ella, by the way. And Ella said, "Cheers, Enforcers, and congrats on almost 600,000 subscribers in Slav Ukraine. And NAFO expansion is non-negotiable. And LLT LSA, and take one from the chat."
And a big thanks to you for the support. We're almost at 600,000. We're getting there. We're getting very close. And hopefully we'll be able to hit that here soon. But of course, long live the Lee Spring Army to you, and we will make sure to take one from the chat. So what do we got?
So in honor of Ella, the one from the chat is going to go to none other than JR, who said, "What U.S. assets are still in theater that we would use to attack with this week if the talks break down?"
There's a significant amount of air power and naval assets that are in the area, so it would basically be the same amount of forces that we saw during the armed phase of the conflict that could be used again. So I hope that has addressed that well, and a big thanks to you for sponsoring our live chat. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, let's see here something. I'm seeing some reports coming out here. Let's see what we got. It sounds like Iran's launching an operation right here, a little operation, although they've been launching stuff. But let's see what they're saying. They're yapping again, apparently. The IRGC is saying they targeted the Nevatim and Tel Nof air bases in Israel in response to the Israeli airstrikes on radar sites in Iran. That's what they're saying right now. So apparently they started a new operation here. They're calling it something. I can't remember the name of it right off the bat,
True
but it's some
Promise
silly
7,
name.
The Return of the Boogaloo or something.
No, it's not that. It's like Operation Nasser or something like that. I think that was the name.
Man, you know what they ought to call it? They ought to call it Operation Wasser because they be using them cheap ass AKs. But anyway,
Man, you gotta have that ball knowledge to know about the Wassers.
you had to been around for a little bit about them Wassers, man. But anyways, with that, we're on the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Bernard Siegel, who put in a 2. And Bernard said, "Keep excellent coverage and keep up the good work."
And thank you so much for the support, and we'll certainly try. And so, big thanks to you once again, and we're on to the next one.
And also, everybody's saying Nasser. I know that's the name of the operation. He was talking about the AK. You know, there's a Wasser AK variant out there that's like a really crap version of it. So it's like, oh man. But anyways, jumping into our next one, this one goes to TRW. He said, "Great work on the coverage."
And thank you so much for the support and enjoying our coverage. And I got to go pull up the elite ball knowledge of those shitty Wassers that are around. These things are awful. They're so bad.
You know, there's a rapper out there that put a Wasser reference in the song, and literally nobody knew what the hell it meant. I remember somebody was like, "What the hell do they mean Wassers?" I'm like, "Bro, they're talking about AKs." I'm like, "That's what they're talking about." It's
The
like they're buying
shittiest.
that cheap shit. Like, yeah, smelly shit. That's that cheap shit. Honestly, really, that's that garbage right there.
Oh, you know, folks, I got a little tip for y'all on AKs. If y'all are going to get an AK in the United States, they're not going to be cheap. I know a lot of people say AKs are cheap, but here in America, they're usually collector's items. They're not going to be cheap. Go and try and find a Bulgarian AK-74. Like, in my opinion, let me make sure to spell this right here. In my opinion, these Bulgarian AK-74s, like these right here, are probably the best, in my opinion. Like, hands down, unequivocally pretty good. Or you can find a Polish AKM. Let me pull that up. Like these are really cool as well. I don't have one with this folding stock. I actually have the KBKG WZ60, which is this one right here. This one's pretty good as well. Very smooth for a 7.62 by 39. But I would generally recommend, if you ever get an AK, get an actual one, if you can afford it, because they're definitely worthwhile. Like, they're like Soviet and Warsaw Pact quality isn't as good as Western quality. That's just a fact. But if you're looking for a high quality AK, getting legitimate ones that have been imported to the United States or have been kit built in the United States are way better than getting like the Wasser ripoff stuff. It's just rough. But anyways, with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 5 Australian from Eve, and thank you very much, Eve, for that 5. And she said, "Hi there, and I've been working back, and good on you, and still good to be here from Australia."
Hey, and I gotta say, a big thanks to your support. And it's good to hear that you've been checking back on us every once in a while while you're at work. And a big shout out to all the folks down in the land down under for watching the show and enjoying it today. And so a big thanks to you once again. I hope that has addressed that well. And we're on to the next one.
We also have here, no more news. Wait a minute, whoa. I actually got a little bit of news here. I like to do that where I lie a little bit. But let's see here.
He just practicing to be a politician, that's all.
Got to sprinkle a couple of lies in to keep it fresh. But let's see here. So the IRGC is saying that this is a statement, by the way, from the IRGC. They said minutes ago, fighters from the aerospace force of the IRGC began Operation Nasser under the slogan, "Oh, Haidar the Valiant." Whatever that means. He said, a tribute to the martyrs of the 12-Day War. Okay, that's what that means. He said, by targeting important centers in the strategic air bases of Nevatim and Tal Nuva Air Base, all combat and operational units of the IRGC are fully ready to carry out large-scale operations on various fronts. So that's the commitment to more attacks. They're calling it Operation Nasser, not to be confused with the smelly shit, the Wasser, but enforcer.
So this appears to be covering that attack that we just saw a little while ago. Remember when we said, oh, look, it's all around Nevatim down there. So they didn't attack the Negev Nuclear Research Center. They did go for the airbase instead. And they also went for Tal Nuva as well. So very interesting stuff right there. So it does confirm that those attacks happen. And we'll be expecting more Israeli responses probably here in the near future. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 2 from DL Observer, who said, from Vanilla Coca-Cola, never give up. LSA NAFO.
And a big thanks to you for the support. And thank you so much for the vanilla Coca-Cola reference. Vanilla Coca-Cola is not that bad, but I'm just not really a soft drinks kind of a person. And then I say that, and then I'll go and whip up in a swig and gain like another 5 pounds from drinking swigs. So a big thanks to you
Or
for
you like your
support.
drinks hard, don't you?
Huh?
You like your drinks hard, don't you?
What does that mean? Hey, yo?
Like alcohol in it. Hey, man, not everything's nasty like that, man. You're making everything nasty.
Hey, yo, man. No, I don't like my drinks with alcohol in them. I generally don't like alcohol. Also, I can't drink alcohol because of my blood pressure. Because like it interacts badly with the medication, I could just drop dead. So, like I can't drink it, like even if I wanted to. So, with that, we're on the next one.
Our next one goes to Kyle Beckman, and thank you very much, Kyle. He said, I have a mill Sam 7 AKM.
Let's see, a Sam 7 AKM. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this little deal. Oh, I've seen these before somewhere. They don't look too bad, but I'm really like I'm a super stickler when it comes to anything AK related. Like I've got to get the real deal kind of a thing for them. So like by the way, if y'all are like, just to let y'all know, the home defense gun that I have is the AK-74 that we had on the one video that we made, the one gun review that's on the channel for the AK-74s. It's that one. And I really like it. I like the look of it. It also has all of its original Bulgarian marks and prints on it. It's really cool. Like I really find that thing to be super fascinating. So I hope that does address that well, at least the best I can in my opinion. These don't look bad. I've never had one myself, but they don't look too bad. Especially that one, like the kid did this one out with a little EOTech and like the little clamp on the side for the optic. That's actually really a nice look, but pretty neat, really. But a big thanks to you so much once again. And Matthew, do not start perpetuating that myth that we might be Mormon. We're not Mormon. Like we're not LDS. We're not LDS. I saw Matthew say Mormons don't drink alcohol. We're not Mormon. We're just like normal Christian folk.
Yeah, I'm not LDS. I'm TDS.
Man, oh man, did you hear that the LDS got done dirty by the new military classification of religions? He got knocked out of the Christian group, and they're on their own now.
Yeah, I know all the Salt Lake City Mormons were in here tonight in the chat yapping about it.
That has really gotten them angry. I've been I've been going on Facebook for model train stuff lately, and like every other post is like, the current administration has removed the LDS from the Christian list in like in the military's religion guidelines. This is a betrayal, and it's like, man, they are up in arms about that. That might make an entire shift. I wouldn't doubt it, folks, that before long you're going to hear the prophet up here in Salt Lake probably announce that they're having a little bit of a departure from their whole current deal right now, because they kind of been backing them because they thought that they would recognize the LDS and treat them well, and it turns out they just delegitimized them to an extent, and have apparently declared them heretical or something, or not within Christian theology, which has gotten them very upset. So with that, we're on the next one.
It's honestly rough times for the Mormons, really, because they're having, it's not the Mormons, by the way, but there's like a separate thing from the church that's going on just, in Salt Lake City. Of course, everybody associates Mormons with Salt Lake City, so it's just kind of unfortunately gets associated with it. But there's a whole Lego thing going on down below, down there in like the lower parts near the lake. There's that whole thing going on down there with the police and everything. That's not the Mormons. That's just other normal people, apparently. But also, you got the little thing with the military going on right now. Also, they're trying to make sure the church doesn't get shook to death by the whole earthquake that might be coming around, like sooner or later, or stuff like that. So they're trying to fix up the temple church downtown and all that. It's a rough time.
Yeah, it's a rough time. It's a rough time for them. They're nice folks and everything, but a rough time for them. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 5 from Nathan Ringawall, and he said, I love my Zastava AKs.
Zastava? Oh, hold on. I gotta go. Zastava. We're getting into like a whole AK rabbit hole tonight. Let's take a look at these. Zastava arms. What do they have? Oh, it's these. These things look off. I don't know how to explain it, but they look a little off. Like the handguard like has like this weird like pattern to it. That one's not too bad looking. Like if you were like an African warlord from like Liberia. Let's see, but they're not too bad. They're not too bad. I like mine traditional though. Like I like my AKs like let me see here, East German AK-74. I like these. These are pretty cool. I think those are neat. And then also the Bulgarian ones are pretty cool. Let's see, the Bulgarian AK-74s. These are pretty neat to me. The ones with the real furniture on them, like the legitimate, authentic stuff, like the plum stock, well, the plum pistol grip and the like plywood like handguard. Those are pretty cool. And, you know, most of the other AK variants, like the real ones, are pretty neat. Like the American stuff, it gets close, but it just doesn't, it's not precise, you know? And like, I'm a real stickler for like precision. Like it has to be like authentic looking down to the rivet. And like that's trains, guns, and everything. So I always try and go for the authentic ones, but they are definitely a lot pricier. But a big thanks to you for support. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Michael Barron for putting in a 2 once again. And thank you very much, Michael, for the other supports as well. We also have a 1 from DNA. And thank you, DNA, as well. We also have a 2 from Sylph, who said LSA all day.
LSA all the way. That's what I say. And I gotta say, a big thanks to you for the support and help the channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Ben Ehrlich. And thank you very much, Ben, for that $10 support. And we do appreciate that very, very much, by the way. And a big shout out to you. And Enforcer, what say you?
And a big shout out to you. You didn't throw in a comment, but your support is amazing, and it helps us to keep this thing running. And so, humongous thanks to you so much once again. I hope that has addressed that well. And with that, it is time for us to move on and into the next one.
And our next one. Also, by the way, I don't want to get too much into this rabbit hole right here, but why did they say that the Mormons aren't what did they say? They aren't Christians, what they say?
They didn't give an explanation. They just booted them. Like they had when the list comes out, if it's a Christian denomination, they put Christian and then a dash in front of it. So it'll be like Christian dash like Jehovah's Witness. And like I think that's the thing that's kind of offended the LDS a whole lot is I think Jehovah's Witness is still declared as a Christian group under the religious guidelines, but they're not. Like, and they're like, what the hell do you mean? Like, you know, if Jehovah's Witness can be called a Christian group, why aren't we? You know, and that's the thing that's aggravated them a whole load. And they didn't give an explanation. They just booted them out. Let me see if I can go pull up, let's see, military religious list. Let me see if I can go show y'all what it looks like right now. Let's see. Oh, yeah, also they dropped like 180 faiths, by the way, from the list. Like completely dropped off. They're not recognized anymore by the military. So this is what the list looks like. This is what military.com put out the list. I've seen it before, and this one is an accurate one. So they have agnostics, the Baha'i faith, Buddhism, and then all of the like Christian sects. And before they read them off, they put Christian and then a dash in front of them if they call it a Christian group. And so they have the Assembly of God, Baptist, Brethren, Catholics, Church of Christ, Church of God, Church of the Nazarene, Episcopals, Evangelicals, Jehovah's Witness, which if y'all know anything about Jehovah's Witness is considered to be even more fringe than the LDS from like traditional Christian doctrine. Lutherans, Methodist, non-denominational, Orthodox, other, Pentecostal, Presbyterian, Quakers, which basically just don't even exist anymore. There's like very little of them. Reformed Scientist. I don't know what group is that. Like, I don't even know. And then Seventh-day Adventist. And then they kicked the LDS out, and they no longer have the Christian denomination in front of them.
I mean, that doesn't really make a difference, does it? I mean, they're still listing them there. It's just that, I mean, what's the big deal about the Christian being in front of them or not?
It's that the LDS says that they are a Christian group. So the fact that they're not being recognized along with the other Christian groups is what's getting them absolutely heated, because that's their claim.
Huh, I don't really understand that, really. I thought they had booted them off there, like, completely or something like that. I thought it was something more serious than that. But, you know, it's like, if it's just a form, I mean, unless it changes their rights or something like that, I don't understand what the big deal is.
Oh, well, you know, it's just that they don't really, you know, like they don't really get to be called Christian, and they're like, you know, that's our whole thing that we claim to be. You know, we just claim to be a different group. And then, you know, the military is now saying, no, you're not. And so they're like, I think they're starting to realize, and this is something that I've been saying on air for a while, the government has no involvement really or role in getting involved in religion, because that kind of stuff starts to happen. And then the government starts to define who's Christian in this quote unquote Christian nation, who isn't. And that starts to get more and more inclusive as time keeps going. Like other groups would start to get excluded and then possibly deleted later on. and you never know. Like it's that's just how it would work. And I think maybe some people are starting to get that in the LDS, but others will still be sorely missed to find that out until it's probably too late for them. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
And a big shout out to JS Ghost Sniper for the 5. And he said, primary home D. I have a BCM Risi 16. I can't really use a TAC Macmillan 60C or a Shaytac intervention inside, LOL. Carry on is my 6-hour P226. You still carrying SIG, are you?
I've been very daring move right there.
Me personally, I'm Glock when it comes to pistols all the way. Like I have a different variant Glock for every purpose, or just 2 of them actually, because I just need concealed carry. I need a home pistol, 9mm. But the Shaytac intervention, that's a hell of a beast right there. That's a nice one. Very expensive though. But Enforcer, what say you?
Pretty interesting little AR right here. Like, it actually looks pretty decent. I personally have, for an AR, I have the FN M4A1. Let me see here. It's this one right here, actually. And I put a Trichicon ACOG on it, and I got a little Surefire flashlight for it as well. That's my little setup. I like that one a whole lot. I really love FN Herstal. It's a really good company, but of course, very expensive designer kind of stuff like Daniel Defense. But I like that. It's a very utilitarian sort of a rifle. It's not too much into the frills, and I also appreciate that as well. But this is a really good one. I really do like that one, like the rail on it. And outside of that, it's like an AR like any other, so that's a pretty cool one too. But I do have to say, nice choices, except for the SIG. Like, I'm not really a big fan of SIG because they had those issues lately that came around with some of their pistols, and so I'm like, like it kind of concerns me, because they have that, apparently they have that same problem that the Namboos had from Japan back in World War II, where if you press down on like the slide or something like that, it can have like a misfire, I believe. And that's something that concerns me greatly because I'm like a humongous safety person. I believe in having double redundant safeties. That's why I love stuff that John Moses Browning designed, because he would design everything with a palm safety grip and a lever safety, and I thought that was really nice. Like, I thought that's really good, and I'm a big fan of that kind of a thing. Except for the Colt Anaconda. That one doesn't have any safeties basically, but it's a 44 Magnum revolver, so it really can't have any safeties. That's the unfortunate part. But outside of that, I'm really a big fan of, let me see, for a pistol at least, the Springfield, let's see here, the Springfield SA-35. It's a Browning high power, but for the modern age. And it has a lever safety. It doesn't have a palm safety, unfortunately, but it is 9mm, and it does hold 17 rounds, and it generally has the old-fashioned kind of ergonomics to it that I kind of like a little bit more. I like my pistols to be a bit heftier in weight. And I also like the handling of this thing a little bit better. I like the angle of the pistol grip and a couple of other things as well about the SA-35s and the high powers. So I'm a really big fan of this design. This is a big favorite to me. But a big thanks to you for
I want to go on that podcast where you sit down in the little like room that they create for the podcast, and they're like, the boys over at SIG got you something, and they hand them that pistol, and they're like, yeah, they give it to him.
And then look down the barrel. Like, wow, look at that.
Bro, honestly, like, I love that. Everybody probably knows what podcast I'm talking about, by the way, but they're always like, yeah, the boys at SIG got you something. And he's like handing them a pistol or something every time. It's like, honestly, that's kind of neat though. Just giving out pistols like at the show. It's kind of interesting.
It's the Oprah Winfrey show for guns. Like, look under your seat. Oh no, Oprah, you didn't. Like, bro, like it's that equivalent. But still, I would say that would be a pretty interesting show to get on. Just make sure, like, that one person do not do this. Do not turn the pistol around towards you and look down it. Like, that's a dumb thing to do. Right? He said, don't look down it.
He said, don't point it at yourself.
Oh my god, that was ridiculous. I was like, oh my god. I was like, honestly, at that point, man, I would have been regretting gifting it to him. I would be like, actually, you know what? I actually need to keep that one. Like, I gotta go to the range and stuff with it. You can just, like, hold off. I might send it to you later. Because, man, that was like, concerning. I was like, Jesus. I was like, that's rough. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
We also have a 10 from Sarah Louise, and thank you, Sarah, as well, for that support. And she said, oh my golly gosh, not one word from the train wreck happening. the way in which that they've whoa, I can't read this part,
Whoa,
I can't read this part,
whoa!
sir. I can't say this
Hey,
part.
you're gonna get
But thank you.
arrested by the police over here. You might be in Britain, but that's a concerning statement. We might get in trouble for that. You spoken great slander against His Majesty's government. Actually, here in America, it'd be you spoken great slander against our Lord and Savior President. You're going to prison. So I'm wanting to be careful with that. I don't know if y'all saw, but he ran out of an interview today, like very heated and everything. He's getting on edge. So we got to be careful.
You're either crooked or stupid. Well, to be fair, I'm not crooked. You're just stupid. Bruh, it's like, come on now.
Man, but do you have any proof of your claim? Screw you, bitch! Like, it just got up and left. It's like, damn, it's like asking for proof apparently was too much. Like, our whole legal system exists on showing some proof, and he had none, and he stormed out. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I ought to try that legal defense in court sometime. Maybe it'll work. But anyways, with that, big thanks to you once again for support, and we're on the next one.
We also have a 10 from Run, and Run said, I rock a Glock 19 with a Steiner MPS red dot and a Streamlight TLR 1HL light and a Glock 34 long slide with an RMR Type 2 and a Streamlight TLR 9 light. Both have +5 magazine extensions.
You'll shoot
That's
your
what
eye
we
out.
call locked in. That's what we call that.
Locked in. I'm not actually a big pistol guy. Like I'm a much more of a rifle kind of a person. But I do think pistols are neat to an extent. It's just that I'm not a huge fan of like learning how to be accurate with them or a marksman or anything. Because in the modern day and age, you can get a lot of performance, like a lot more performance out of a rifle than you really ever can a pistol. And there was actually a really interesting video I watched on that on YouTube a little while ago. I forgot the channel, but it was a great video. And they were talking about how rifles have evolved so much over the past 120 years, and yet pistols have basically evolved not at all, and are basically a side piece that doesn't even matter on the battlefield these days, and they're absolutely right. Not that we're all going to be fighting, in the trenches of Ukraine anytime soon, but I just think that rifles are generally the better pick if you can pick that in any situation, really. Especially with how small they get these days, even by the legal parameters where they're not an SBR. I mean, you can carry one around in most cases whenever you like. Of course, not, in the wide open on a sling or anything, but in your car you could. But a big thanks to you for support. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on the next one.
Also, a big shout out to Sanford Schoolfield, who put in a 5. And thank you very much, Sanford, for that support. We also have a 5 from Game Theory. He said M16 XXX or the AK XXX, and which one do you choose?
Every day of the week, it's going to be an M16 of some sort. I would say, really, I would pick the M16A1 because of its lightweight. M16A1s only weigh about 5.5 pounds, and that is exceptionally light. It's basically like a toy. And also, by the way, before anyone says it, because I know someone's probably like, did you know the Mattel used to make M16s? They never did. Like, a lot of people got that confused with the Mattel M16 toy that Mattel made back in the day for some kids, and they didn't ever make the real M16. Like, let me go pull up this thing, the Mattel M16, to show y'all the toy that they made. This is the Mattel M16 toy right here. This is the M16A1. Mattel never made a real rifle. They just made the toy. The commercial for this thing was crazy, by the way. Like, it was like soldiers in Vietnam on TV, and they look at the kid through the TV screen, and he says, "Here you go, kid." And he throws the M16 at him through the TV, and the kid catches it. He says, "It's all yours." It's like, man, that's wild. Like, that was crazy. Like, you wouldn't see a commercial like that these days, but I would like the M16A1. That's a pretty good one. Or I would go with the M4A1 carbine, because that is also a pretty decent platform, and it cuts down a little bit of the barrel length to try and shave weight, but then the Picatinny rail basically makes it even way heavier than an M16. So I hope that is addressed it the best I can. A big thanks to you for the support. But if I had to pick every day of the week an AK versus any AR platform of any type, I'm always picking an AR platform. Like, hands down, they're qualitatively better in every way. But with that, we're on to the next one.
Up next, we have a 2 from Infamous Eagle, who said our allies could have stopped this.
They could have, but they don't really have to. A lot of the European countries don't, and that's why they're not. And kind of the U.S. told them, "You're when I say jump, you say how high," and they said "F you, we're not," and then they didn't get involved. So they kind of pulled a little Israel on us a little bit earlier on, and now Israel's doing the same. Man, they grow up so fast. But a big thanks to you once again, and we're on the next one.
Also, the stock market futures not looking good right now. Also, the oil's creeping back up too, so not looking good. But our next one here goes to MN Max, who said thoughts on Section 224 and the NDAA passed by the House.
I wouldn't be familiar with that one at the moment. I would
That's
have
that
to
one
go.
of integrating the military, isn't it?
Oh, I'm not a big fan of that at all. The United States needs to keep strategic independence for our armed forces, and while we might integrate our joint commands, like say in NATO for U.S. Army Europe and Africa and the Allied Command of Forces in Europe, integrating the armed forces at an intricate level with another nations is an absolutely atrocious idea. And even integrating the weapons industry to where it's basically lock and step with another nations is a national security risk and a bad idea. So I hope that does address that the best I can. And a big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
This one goes to Game Theory, who put in a 5. He said, pretty cool. My dad has his M16 leaded, and they let vets bring back their guns if they leaded the barrel.
Oh wow, that's really cool actually. I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of the M16A1 design. I love it. It's so nice, it's ergonomic, it's lightweight. Eugene Stoner was a genius when he made the original AR platform for the AR-10 and the AR-15, and then they made the M16 out of the AR-15. That was a genius design. It was so lightweight, so futuristic in design. It's the longest, I think it is the longest served rifle, service rifle in U.S. history, and for good reason. So a big thanks to you for your support and help this channel to keep it running. And with that, we're on the next one.
And with that, jumping into our 2 live chat questions that we have, the first one goes to Alex Williams. He said, how is Iran not out of drones and missiles by now?
Because they have thousands of them. That's really the best way to explain them. And most of them were stored in tunnels, so they were impossible to destroy. So I hope that does address that the best we can. And actually, it looks like right now we are on to the final question of the night. So who was the lucky last person who threw in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Shy Guy, who said, so now that we've seen a missile from Yemen, when do you think attacks and blocks will happen in the Gulf of Aden?
Probably within the next few days, I would assume. Generally, the Israelis always throw something the Houthis' way if they do something to Israel, and considering that they tried to do some today, we'll probably see in the next couple of days that the Israelis go down there and drop a couple of bombs on them. Probably around the area of the port of Al-Hadida and also Sana'a, which are fan favorites for the Israelis to hit. And we might also see some hits in the periphery areas, but usually they're not incredibly common. So I hope that does address that the best we can. And with that in mind, folks, we have reached the end of another nearly 4-hour-long stream after our first 4-hour-long stream. Jeez Louise, folks, what a busy day. What a busy day. I didn't expect to be working this hard on a Sunday, but we're working hard every day. And of course, folks, we're going to see you all tomorrow. I don't know when, but we're definitely seeing y'all tomorrow. Like, there's going to be a lot going on tomorrow. We can all be guaranteed of that. So I'm not even going to make any scruples or anything about it. We're going to be on air tomorrow. Now, as far as a short war video is concerned, if something for some reason has not happened yet in the middle of the day and there is a short war video to be made, then Matthew will be one making that short war video. And before we go, it actually appears that a couple of kind people are continuing to support this channel. Matthew, please, guide us through this.
So we also just got a 50 from Michael Barron once again, and thank you very much, Michael Barron, for all that support tonight, by the way. He said, hey, you're wrong about the rifles. I want to know, why do we have a plan to open the Strait? W.
Sacrilege! I'm not wrong about no rifles. The M16 beats the AK every day. If you don't believe me, believe the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have tried to replace every AK they have in service with AR-style rifles because they are just qualitatively better in every way. Like, I am of the idea that it is a qualitative fact that as far as the volume of fire doctrine is concerned, which is what everybody uses in infantry firefights these days, the AR platform beats out the AKs every day of the week. But outside of that, I would also have to say, why do we have a plan? Well, we don't have a plan to open the Strait of Hormuz, at least at the moment. So, unfortunately, we don't have one, and I don't know why we don't have one to answer the question that way. So, big thanks to you for support and help this channel to keep it running, Michael Barron. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we're on the next one.
We also have a 2 from Big Daddy J, who said, take out the gloves. We never should have had Iran.
take off the gloves. We never should have had Iran. Well, I'm generally not one to have a run. I mean, many of y'all could tell that by yesterday's video. I'm more of a walking kind of a guy. But a big thanks to you for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. And with that, folks, it truly is time for us to round this thing out. And so with that, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe. Slava Ukraini, Haram Slava. Long live the Leaf Spring Army, and long live the Republic.
And with that, folks, a big shout out to you all for joining us on the second 4-hour stream of the day. Another 170,000 plus people that joined us by the end of this stream as well. And today, it's been like 500,000 viewers in total between everything we've done today. So a huge shout out to everybody for joining us once again. And we will almost certainly see you all tomorrow. I'm currently seeing that apparently there's more exchanges of fire between Iran and Israel right now. So we will almost certainly be here tomorrow live on the air to cover it. Or there will be a shorter video, but most likely a stream of some sort midday to cover what's happening. Because it looks like things are getting heated, and I'm sure it's about to get even worse. So we'll find out tomorrow, but it's about to be a start to an interesting week, and we hope to be here to cover it with you all once again tomorrow. But a huge shout out to you once again, and of course, Slava Ukraine, Heroam Slava, get some rest, and good night.
Army shall